Hello, all theater lovers, both out and proud and on the DL, and welcome back to Broadway Breakdown, a podcast discussing the history and legacy of American theater's most exclusive address, Broadway. This series is called Underestimated, and it is covering shows that either had mild success when they first premiered on Broadway, or no success at all, but have since gone on to have a long and healthy life. I'm your host, Matt Koplik, the least famous and most opinionated of all the Broadway podcast hosts, and with me today is the godmother of the breakdown, the podmother, if you will. Please welcome back to the show, Allie Gordon. Hi, Allie.
Wow, thank you. Are people mad yet? Have you gotten any comments yet that I need to stop coming on the show?
No, no one.
This is the one, then.
This is the one. Well, I've been pretty lucky. No one has, responded with negative feedback about the pod. There have been people who've been like, your episodes are long, right, girl? I'm like, yeah, they're long. Like it or don't like it. Just, it's fine.
Okay, well, that's good to know. You're going to get your first negative feedback today.
It's true. Today's the day where we just did one too many Allie Gordons, and all the listeners
I think they're going to be mad, disappointed at best.
Why do you think they're going to be disappointed with you?
I don't know. I just, sometimes, when you know how, in the later seasons of the Brady Bunch, when they kept bringing in, Cousin Oliver or whatever it was, and people were like, this is killing the show. I think that's me.
So then you're saying that you're both Cindy and Bobby and Cousin Oliver combined, because you...
Yeah, because I've just been here for a while.
You have been here for a while. I mean, if anything, it's more like you're Urkel, because... You came in at the beginning, everyone loved you, and then you wore out your welcome with the hot machine.
Yeah, overstood. Yeah. Do you remember the end of 30 Rock when Jack is trying to tank NBC on purpose? Mm-hmm. And so, any idea anybody has for a show just gets made?
Yeah.
That's what it's like, where you're just like, oh, I don't know. I guess we'll just throw Allie on here.
Yeah, you are the breakdown's equivalent to God Cop.
I am God Cop.
Yeah. Let us pray. To who?
To who?
so good.
It's so stupid.
I love it so much.
I do feel qualified to speak on our subject today, as I was going to ask, did you see me in this show in high school?
I did. Well, so first of all, before we
get
into
come and
that,
see it? I can't remember.
Before we get into that, Allie, Alessandra Gordon.
Yes.
What musical are we talking about today?
We are finally talking about #Justice for Smile, Smile the musical.
It is on the artwork for the podcast. You knew this was coming.
I'm very moved that I am part of the titular #movement Justice for Smile. I get to put my stamp on this musical that has been the sort of the ghost of Christmas future for this podcast the entire time it's been made. You've always just been and blah 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 blah, smile, we'll talk about that later, and here we are. I mean, the only other show that listeners are one day we'll get a 3-hour episode discussing it is Carousel, but that's got to be for a whole other series at one exactly
point.
Do you remember that you asked me to pitch you some ideas for the title for this series of what has become underestimated? Do you remember what my suggestion was?
I don't remember your suggestion.
It was the Carrie Diaries.
And just make it all about Carrie.
Just I knew Carrie would be part of it, and so it's not a good suggestion, but I do like it.
I mean, it was a good one. If I were to do a series about Carrie, which, spoiler alert, next week's episode is about Carrie, but if I were to do a whole series about it, that would absolutely be the title.
That's the one.
I do remember.
Okay, I'm so excited. I can't believe we're talking about Smile.
I know, fucking finally. So you asked me a question, and before I answer it, let me ask you a question, Allie. What is your history with Smile?
Okay, Smile was my senior year musical. It's because it's a show, as you will hear soon, that is populated entirely by young women. So when you are doing a high school musical and your population is entirely young women, it's a great show to do. Mm. Because it was my senior show, I knew I was going to get a lead. I got to be Doria. I was probably the most miscast Doria in the history of the show ever being produced.
Such a Robin that got cast as a Doria.
I would never play Doria professionally. There's just no room that I would walk into where they wouldn't be and it's Robin. There's just no way.
Absolutely.
But I'm so glad I had that experience, because and now that I'm revisiting the show more, Doria has every single best song in the show, even songs that aren't full songs. When it gets to her part in the song, it is the best part of the song. So it was like a joy to sing. I loved it. And that's why I can't remember if you saw it.
I didn't see it in person, and I don't know why, but I did see video. You showed me video of it. You showed me video of your Disneyland, of your Until Tomorrow Night, and then of your bit in Shine, where I remember you were really, really proud of your Evita arms at the end. You did Ava Perón arms.
Oh, I don't remember that.
And it's so much to talk about, but in Shine, 5 different girls get a little bit that they get to say to the Elks. Yeah, it is the Elks.
Yeah.
I was trying to think, because they made a change from Broadway to the licensed version. It's still the Elks, just what Sandra Kay says to the Elks is different. She says, she doesn't, on Broadway, she says, my dad's had antlers for 15 years. In the licensed version, she says, my father's been an elk for 15 years, just making it a little more clear to people.
A little clearer for the people who don't get it.
Well, there are a lot of dum-dums out there, Allie Gordon.
Well, I'm one of them. Proud representative.
Proud dum-dum, proud sexy dum-dum. That's why you were Doria. But Doria's whole bit about the Galleria, and she says, it's a credit to the vision of your business community. You ended with Evita arms. And you were so proud of this choice.
That sounds right.
Yeah, you were so proud of that choice.
I don't remember it, but it sounds right.
I also remember...
I can't deny it.
At the time, I remember... Because we watched it. We watched your video, and we talked about it. And you were like, oh, I'm so proud of this moment, blah, blah. I wonder if, anyone got it. And in our minds, we thought it was such an inside, culty reference to do Evita arms. In retrospect, it's, one of the top 5 most recognizable musical theater poses of all time.
Of all time. I thought you were going to say that we as teenagers were like, do people get Smile? Which does sound like a conversation you and I would have had as teenagers, because we're also having it again now. So
yeah,
I feel I believe that.
Well, yeah, so, okay. I probably have talked about it at some point. My history with the show is sort of connected with you. I first heard about it. Everyone take a shot. This actually might be the last episode where I make this reference, but Stage Door Manor is where I first heard about Smile. Jeff Murphy, who's a longtime director, I don't think he directs there anymore, but he loves Smile and would do it there every 3 summers. Yeah,
I mean, again, when you have a bunch of young women, it is the perfect show to do, because it is all young women and they all have something fun to do in the show.
Yeah. Well, on paper, it seems like a really great idea. And then there's a lot of stuff about the show that is a little tricky to pull off, and intentionally so. And unfortunately, there are a lot of high school directors that really fucking suck. So, and we'll get into all that. But anyway, I just remember Jeff Murphy talking about it all the time. And then all the girls would always sing Disneyland. And then I got into the show on my own after all of that. And then when you got to do it senior year, I was really pumped. And then you gave me a burned copy of the demo that Samuel French sends out to productions of Smile.
Oh,
and
illegal.
And I remember
come and get me.
Come and get me, Sam French. But I remember we analyzed the Sean Christensen actress. We analyzed Jodie Benson's riff during Until Tomorrow Night.
Oh, best.
The best. And you and I were the only ones carrying that torch for Smile. And I feel for different reasons, but it was just us. And we would talk about the show. And I remember you had a whole bit about what's Sean Christensen's talent in the talent show?
What is her talent in the talent show?
You used to say, I'm so glad that I remember all of this, because you remember none of it.
I'm so glad too. You remember everything.
Things are so important to me that aren't important to anyone else. And I don't know why that is, Allie Gordon. But
I appreciate that.
I'm glad someone does. You had a whole bit. Your bit was about a bit, and I love this sort of hat on a hat.
Of course.
Your bit was what if Sean's talent at the talent show was racist stand-up? So,
she was the first Jeff Foxworthy. She had puppets. Mm-hmm. She was doing stereotypes. She was doing accents she shouldn't have been doing. 100%, I stand by that.
Yeah, she was the first person to be you ever notice how Asian people, and today we would just stop it immediately and go, nope, no more.
Nope. Wait, I said the wrong comedian. Who's the guy with the puppets?
I don't know. That's not the person who does Madam.
Jeff Dunham. I said Jeff Foxworthy. Jeff Foxworthy is, you know you're a redneck because...
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah,
I have to let my cat out of my door.
Go for it.
I have to let my cat out of my door. Sorry, my cat is homophobic and he didn't want to be hearing about Smile anymore.
No, of course not. Who would? But I think Sean's racist jokes would sort of be the inverse of that. So instead of you're a redneck when, but it'd be more you're seeing a such and such when such and such. And
yeah. I'm saying, you know who I'm talking about, the guy with the puppets. He like won or was on America's Got Talent or something like that, and all of his puppets are like weird racial stereotypes, and he's like a ventriloquist. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but I believe you.
Well, that's fine. I was going to be like, you should look it up, but actually, you shouldn't.
No, I don't intend to.
But I do think Sean Christensen actually invented that genre. She was like, my talent is ventriloquism. And they were like, oh, how lovely. And then she was just doing horrible ethnic stereotypes.
Yeah, it's why Sandra K. McAfee ends up winning. Because her puppet isn't racist. But yeah, so my love for Smile just has always grown over the years as I have gotten to know more about the history of the show, and I've analyzed more of the lyrics, and my love for Howard Ashman has grown, and I understand that it is flawed. It is not a perfect musical, although I also would argue very few are, but I think it doesn't get enough credit, especially now, because people just know that it flopped on Broadway, and the Broadway version is quite different from the licensed version, so people don't really, when they think of the show, they think of, the 6-week flop on Broadway. They don't think of the one that's actually like tighter, a little more acerbic, has a better vision for the story. And so I've always just been carrying the torch. I've wanted encores to do it forever. I think a lot of it is actually incredibly relevant now. And I would just really love to see it done again and done well. But we'll get into all that in a second. Allie Gordon.
Yes.
In a nutshell, what is Smeel about?
Okay, Smeel is about a bunch of teenage beauty pageant contestants who are all invited because they have won their like regional town, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. They are congregating in Santa Rosa, California to compete in the 1985 California Young American Miss Beauty Pageant. That is essentially it, because the entire musical follows them from packing up their bags to leave to the moments after winning the title at the end of Young American Miss. In between there, we get to meet a couple different contestants, including our two protagonists, Robin and Doria. Doria is the I've been watching pageants since I was a little girl contestant. Robin sort of ended up here because she has good grades and like is looking for some things to sort of flesh out her resume, but ends up sort of excelling, and Doria is encouraging her as somebody who doesn't believe she can win. So she's like, oh, I'll win through you. Yeah. Then there are also some adult characters. They are not as fun to talk about because their stuff just is less robust, but there's the pageant director who was a one-time Young American Miss winner. There's Bob, who sells RVs. Yeah. There's a choreographer. There's the people who come and say, that ramp can't be there. I don't know. It's not as fun when we're getting into the adult stuff, but the teenager stuff is really fun because we get to see their talents and see the angst of being their age and having to be in such a high-stakes situation. And I feel that part of what makes the show so successful is that while it's very acerbic and very... It's not like condemning of the idea of a beauty pageant, but it really shows what it does to a young girl's psyche. Mm-hmm. But it also like really treats the teenage characters with a lot of empathy, and like in songs like Until Tomorrow Night, like they are never the butt of the joke. You're really like feeling for them as they go through this, what feels like a life-altering experience for them. Yeah,
I think that's all very fair. The show is really kind of satirical of the 80s. And it's ironic because it was written in the middle of the 80s. And it's very satirical of the culture of America at that time of beauty pageants, I would say. Not, again, as you said, like it's not making fun of beauty pageants, but it is sort of showing the cracks in the system. I think is the best way to describe it. Yeah. And I hear you. The adults are kind of a little on the boring side, but I also think that's kind of the point. It's just sort of it does make the show lag sometimes, but we can also sort of go into it with the movie that it is based on, because like many a Broadway musical, Smile is based on a movie, and you watched the movie for the very first time.
Yeah, for the very first time. It was so strange.
It is a weird movie.
Not at all what I was expecting.
No, and so I first watched the movie a few months ago with Adam Ellsbury, and he knows the movie way better than I ever did. And so we watched it because he knows how much I love Smile. And he's like, you're going to be flabbergasted, of like, the moments that Howard Ashman lifts verbatim, and then the things that he changes like whole hog.
And I mean, it is genius what he did as an adapter. Is that a word?
Yeah,
like, and
adapter.
I feel like an adapter is a thing you plug into the wall because your plug didn't work. But like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a better word for it. But like, the things that he did lift are genius, and the things that he did cut were so correct. Do you know what I mean? Like he really went through and was like extremely incisive with what he chose.
You didn't want a song
like,
about kissing a chicken butt, Allie? That's something you didn't want?
Oh my God, what was all of that stuff?
But
like
the listeners
but
are
also,
like, the fuck
even,
is this episode?
even like the little moments like that were like lifted verbatim, like Doria being like, and get some Vaseline on your teeth and make your lips glide over. Do you know what I mean? Like all those little pieces of dialogue are lifted like directly from the movie. I was very I had no idea it was going to be so close in some parts.
Yeah.
There's a weird subplot in the movie. What we're referencing is like there's a weird subplot with like a thing that's like being the Elks or whatever it is, but it's like a small town ritual type thing where it's like a social club / whatever, but you can age out of it, and this one guy is like taking really badly to the idea that he's like going to lose this social circle and like threatens suicide. It's
so
what happened there?
Yeah, well, okay, so so let's put a pin in that and talk a little bit about how we got some Smile, and I think that's a great section to sort of discuss the adult characters and where the movie makes them more enjoyable to watch, but their plot line is kind of awful.
Yeah, it's off the rails.
And Ashman streamlined those plot lines and made it better, but also made them a little less fun to watch because it's not so insane. So Smile, as we were just acknowledging, was based off of a 1975 film written by Jerry Belson, directed by Michael Ritchie. And the movie is sort of an indie cult classic. It didn't do very well when it came out, but has sort of always been talked about as this fan favorite. People who know it love it. A lot of young actresses who went on to have prominent careers came out of that movie. One of the most is Melanie Griffith, playing sort of the Sean Christensen character in the movie, but that character's not really that character in the movie. And I will also say, like, right off the bat, we will get into the Maria Gonzalez of it all. The show really, I think, especially the licensed version, takes what the movie did with Maria and just makes it so much better, because there is a specific line in the movie that Melanie Griffith has that is meant to be funny. It comes off as super racist now, which is when they're like in the dressing rooms talking about Maria, who's barely a character in the movie, and the other girls are like, God, like, is it annoying being her roommate? And Melanie Griffith says ever so matter-of-factly, no, it's fine. She mostly just makes guacamole. And it's not meant to be like a racist dig. It's meant to be honest. And I'm like, that's where the movie's kind of dark satirical edge doesn't age well. But
yes.
Yeah. So again, we'll get into all of that. The idea for turning it into a musical, I believe, came from Marvin Hamlish, who is the composer of this show and is most famous for composing a chorus line, and then eventually They're Playing Our Song. Basically, the show was meant to go into production in the early 80s. Hamlish got together with Carolyn Lee and Thomas Meehan at first. Thomas Meehan is best known as the librettist for Annie, and then eventually the producers in Hairspray. Carolyn Lee, lyricist of Little Me and a few other shows that never really went anywhere. And then Thomas Meehan was replaced by Jack Hefner, who wrote the play Vanities, I believe.
Yes.
You would know Vanities, wouldn't you, Allie?
Well, I worked in a library and I had to check out that play to a lot of people.
So I'm correct. He's the one who wrote Vanities.
You said the name was
Jack Hefner.
Yes,
Hefner?
Jack Hefner. Correct.
Hefner, great. But there's an I in there, so that's just really misleading.
Yeah. Also, Carolyn Lee, that was big. The Best Is Yet to Come erasure.
Oh, with this show?
No, just like she wrote the lyrics for the song "The Best Is Yet to Come," which I would say like is arguably one of the most popular songs ever recorded.
Yeah, well, she wrote the lyrics for a couple of 50s, 60s pop standards that no one really recognizes that she wrote. She was a really, really good lyricist. She was also an infamous pain in the ass, which is why she didn't work on a lot of shows, because she was just awful to her collaborators, and not in a way where you look back and you read it and go like, oh no, she was just a strong woman with opinion. Like, she was a nasty person. She
you weren't like, actually, that's feminism.
No, you don't. Carolyn Lee is not a look back and see feminism person. She's a look back and go, oh, she just didn't collaborate. She was just refused to like ever, like she would write a lyric and then refuse to change any of them. And she wrote some great lyrics, but you know, you always want to try to see if you can do better. You want to adapt with your collaborators. She was never that person. So by the 80s, she definitely was like not in demand. They do a workshop in 1983 that was directed and choreographed by Graciela Danielle, of all people.
Interesting.
And a young Jane Krakowski was in it. And
really?
Mm-hmm. I don't know who she played.
I'm starstruck even to hear it.
Well, a lot of people came and went with the show. The workshop basically went nowhere. It was considered way too dark. Hefner's libretto was very much in line with the original screenplay, which is very odd and dark. And Carolyn Lee's lyrics were like really intense. She had a whole song where the girls were talking about like what got them to the pageant, like because you have to, you know, pay money for your airfare and then, you know, for lodgings and stuff like that. It's not cheap to be in a pageant, which is ironic because the winner gets scholarship money. But apparently in Carolyn Lee's lyrics, there's a song where they talk about how they got to the pageant. One girl talks about like how she basically turned tricks in her town to get there, and one girl talked about like, yeah, I had to bed the whole football team.
Damn.
Yeah, very sharp objects, that Gillian Flynn book. But yeah, the workshop, basically everyone was like, this is really intense. This is not a musical comedy. And this is the 80s where the mega musicals were coming in and taking over. And everyone's like, shit, we need to get American musicals back out in front and center. They're not doing well. So everyone's just trying to make musicals bigger and make them more wholehearted and earnest. And Neil Simon was floated around for a second to come in and rewrite the whole libretto. But at the end, Howard Ashman comes in. And it's ironic because Howard Ashman was auditioned the first time around to write the show, and he was turned down. And then Little Shop exploded. And yeah, and
is the assumption that he was turned down because he was basically a nobody at the time?
Yeah, I think when they were auditioning, I think Little Shop had just premiered at the WGA, and he had done God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater with Menken, so he was sort of an up and comer. But Little Shop had not exploded yet. And then by the time he got turned down and they did the workshop, Little Shop becomes this huge sensation. They win the drama desk over Cats, and then you know, the $1 million movie deal. And then when he gets hired back, I think Little Shop the movie is in pre-production, so he's definitely he went from being an up-and-comer to like, this is the
guy 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And
working with Marvin Hamlish, who's like already at this point a maybe an EGOT winner already.
Yeah, he's an EGOT at this point. And the irony is that so Marvin Hamlish was like the big dog here because he had Chorus Line, which was, you know, super huge, and then they're playing our song, which was a very sizable hit. And while he's working on Smile, he has his first flop that plays in London, but no one really considers that, you know, anything because it's London. It's not Broadway. Smile is Marvin Hamlish's first Broadway flop. But because of the cloud he had coming in, it was a little more like anything he said went. He was also one of the producers on the show. But the funny thing is, like, Ashman gets turned down for the book the first time, then comes back and gets offered book, lyrics, and direction. So... yeah, and he got blamed a lot at the time for, you know, oh, you shouldn't be directing a new musical if you're also one of the writers. And he didn't get as much clout at the time as he should have, because Marvin Hamlish, again, like coming in with all of his cachet with Chorus Line and money, he had a lot of things to say. And then, you know, they went through a lot of producer troubles, and then the producers they did eventually get leaned on them heavily when they were out of town. So a lot of that Ashman criticisms at the time turned out not to really be founded. But this is to say, they go into writing of the show. The one thing Ashman does convince Hamlish to do is basically throw out his entire score that he wrote with Carolyn Lee. The only thing they keep is the melody for the title song, which Ashman writes a whole bunch of new lyrics for. Otherwise, Hamlish writes a new score.
Wow.
Yeah, which good on both of them for that.
Yeah, seriously, especially since like this score is so solid all the way through that you're like, damn, what got left behind? Yeah,
well, I have listened to two of the songs with Carolyn Lee, and they're not nearly as good. They're more they're more pastiche, and there's more energy to the Ashman version. And then like you even listen to the versions that got on Broadway compared to what's now licensed, and the licensed version, I would argue, is like 95% a super solid score, save for Bob's song. But
oof, yeah, completely.
Yeah. And the Broadway version is, it's just bigger, it's brassier, it's not quite as compact, but even the stuff that's not quite as good, there's still a lot there. But they do another workshop, a much better version of the show. They do it for the Schuberts and they do it for David Geffen, and they see the workshop and they go, no thank you. And so now they're scrambling, and they finally get two producers. One is Richard Kagan, who's an insurance salesman, and Sidney Schlenker, who's a Texan entrepreneur. And they both had produced stuff before, but never anything huge. The only major thing that Schlenker had to his name as a producer was the original production of Joseph. Everything else that both of them had produced were total flops. But they come in and they come in, and the reason why they get to be producers on this is because they can get the money raised for Smile, no problem. While they're raising the money, Hamlish is doing investor auditions and then doing auditions for ticket buyers, ticket group buyers, people who buy for like giant parties and events and whatnot. And while that's all happening, Ashman is working on the filming of Little Shop, because Little Shop is filming the entire summer of 1985. And Smile goes out of town, I think, the summer of 86. Yeah, summer of 86. Oh, also, I just want to say this thing while we keep going, and you'll know what I'm talking about. We'll get into it. I hate Diane Sawyer, Allie Gordon.
Yeah.
She's mean.
Isn't it weird when you, look back on things and you're like, hey, are you kind of being an ass right now? Because, it's one of those things that only comes with time. But, Diane Sawyer was kind of being an ass right now.
She was being a super ass, and it's not just my love of Smile that makes me say this. You watched... So, for anyone who's wondering, Diane Sawyer did a segment on Smile for 60 minutes back in 1986. Not 85 to 86. Pretty much was following it from the Ashman Hamlish workshop that lost Geffen and the Schuberts.
Right, all the way through them in Baltimore when they did their out-of-town tryouts, essentially.
Yeah, right up... And it aired the night before they opened. And... to say that Diane Sawyer's view of the out-of-town tryout and all of that is intensely judgmental and negative is an understatement, because there are moments when you see something that looks good or even promising, or someone says something that's positive, and then she spins it. So one of my main examples is Hamlish is doing these auditions for ticket buyers, and he has 3 young women from the show singing a bunch of the score for hundreds of people, and everyone seems to be enjoying it.
Yeah, there's even a cutaway with an old woman who's it's delightful. I can't wait to bring my friends because I they're such talented young women. There's positive feedback.
Yeah, what happens is they do talking heads, and everyone has something positive. A lot of people are oh, it has a lot of promise. I can't wait to see what they do with it. I'm gonna buy up a bunch of it. I think this is just what we need. And someone says, oh, I love the girls. And then the fourth person goes, it's cute. And then that's where Diane Sawyer zooms in and goes, but cute might not be good enough. And I'm go fuck yourself, Diane Sawyer.
I know. It's all these things that have recently gone re-viral of Barbara Walters interviewing people Whitney Houston and Britney Spears and stuff that we look back on it now and you're damn, get off their dick. You're being kind of an asshole right now. Can you just leave them alone? You're asking them weird questions.
They're trying to get the scoop. They're trying to get the story. They're trying to get the viewers, and I get that, but also be a human being. And they go fucking out of town to Baltimore, where they make Baltimore actually ended up being disastrous for them just because of the changes they made. But they didn't get bad reviews. They actually got a couple of raves, and 60 Minutes shows them at the opening night party. You see young Jodie Benson in her Texan pageantry vest, holding the hands in a prayer circle with the girls while they wait for the reviews.
Right, and then somebody gets on stage and reads a rave review.
Yeah, a rave review. And then Diane Sawyer goes, not all the reviews were that positive. Some were pretty negative. They've got a lot of work to do. And I'm go fuck yourself.
I think you should get Diane on the pod, and you can drill her about why she didn't Smile. Also, by the way, this 60 Minutes thing is on YouTube because you sent it to me, and I would highly recommend people go watch it. It's very interesting. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I found extremely interesting is that Marvin Hamlish, outwardly is trashing the Schubert organization because he's I made these guys millions of dollars. I have the biggest hit on Broadway, and then I did another pretty good hit for them after. And here they are being we just don't believe in it. And I really thought it was interesting that I don't know. I feel nowadays people have to be a little more careful about what they say and where they say it because just things live in such perpetuity and can be retweeted out of weird context and things like that. And so yeah. I thought it was sort of unusual albeit extremely fair, for him to be voicing these frustrations
on
national television on a 60 Minutes thing. Like, I was like, damn, dude, I really feel you on this. And like, I was glad to see his unfiltered response to the situation, as opposed to like the publicity's spin of his response to the situation. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I'm 100% agreement with you on that. And I mean, Marvin Hamlish was mostly a dick, and I will mention a little bit more how his dickishness came out when the show opened on Broadway. But he's not wrong. And what he kind of, I don't know if he says these exact words, but this is what I got from it, is when he said that, you know, I made them all this money. I've had 2 hits. You know, one is, you know, still running and like a sensation. The other one ran for 2.5 years, ran all over the country, ran across the globe. And then I have this one, which is like my passion project, which, yes, you know, we're not there yet, but there is promise here. For them to say we don't believe in it is them saying like they don't believe in him. They don't believe that he can get it done.
That is essentially what he's saying. And it's like a very fair response to the situation, which is just being like, oh, I thought you believed in me as a person, but you only believe in me as a moneymaker. And now that you have even the slightest whiff of doubt, you have like thrown my ability to the curb, because all you can see is like the spreadsheet that will have the, you know, profits at the end of it. I just thought it was, I don't know. I appreciate when you can hear creatives talk about this and like in an unfiltered way. And even in like the heat of the moment, like, you know, his perspective may have changed. If we talk to him today and it's like, hey, what's your perspective on Smile? Like, it might be different because I might be softened by time, but like, I am sort of interested in like it's so hard to make a Broadway musical. It's so hard to make art. And like, there are a lot of huge emotions associated with it. And I think the more that people see it, the more truthful it will be to know how hard it is to go see like that it's a fucking miracle that anything's on Broadway at all. Do you know what I mean?
And a greater miracle if something works. Like, it's
exactly. And I think because if you know how hard it is, it actually makes criticism more appreciated too, because if something isn't great and somebody can like put their finger on why, you're like, hey, thank you for sort of demystifying or helping me to parse like what I didn't like about it or what didn't like work for me about that, even though I acknowledge it's a fucking miracle that it's even running at all. Like, I think it's like a very healthy way to look at theater and people's response to it in general, as opposed to just being like, it was crazy, the stage moved.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, we are at a place now with feedback in the community where it's all just overwhelmingly positive, and it's not helpful in any way, because artists can't get better if they aren't given constructive criticism. They can't get better if you give them destructive criticism. And there was a time I talked about this, I think in Candide, I can't remember, one of my past episodes, I talk about how like you read old reviews from the golden age through the 60s, and the negative reviews aren't ever actually helpful, because these critics had to write their reviews in 6 hours. You know, they get out of opening night, they had to drill it out, and if they didn't like it, it was more about an exercise for them in their bitchiness. So you'd have, you know, Walter Kerr being like, flop, garbage, trash, drag her to filth, burn her alive. And you never actually about like, here's why like this song doesn't work, or why like the intentions of the show are correct, but like maybe this story just doesn't sing, or you know, blah blah blah. And unfortunately John Simon lived for so long that we still had his trash reviews. But I think now negative reviews have actually gotten better, because they have had more of that constructive feedback where it's like, this is why I don't like this, or why this doesn't work. You know, love him or hate him, and I don't really care for him all that much now that he's in the Times, but Jesse Green, when he writes a negative review, he's pretty clear about what it is that he didn't think worked. And I think that is very fair, whether you agree with him or not. I don't always agree with his taste, but I mean, like his Music Man review is incredibly fair, and he lays out why he found it underwhelming.
Yes, I really thought that was a very very fair review. Like, even if it's not nice, which it isn't unnice for the sake of being unnice, and it also has exactly what I was saying of like that acknowledgement of the fact that it's a miracle that we can get all these people in the same place at the same time doing a show that we highly regard as a classic. Do you know what I mean? Like, it has all the acknowledgement of like, hey, it's incredible that we've done this. It's incredible that we have like a huge star in this show that's like kind of unkillable because like the material is so bulletproof. There are definitely things that don't age as well, but overall, like, what can you say? You can't, it's pretty insane to try and say The Music Man is a quote unquote not good musical. It is. So, like, with that acknowledgement, here's why this production isn't very good. Like, that's very... I feel like I've lost the plot here, but I'm just saying, like, I like when there is an acknowledgement that to even make theater is a near impossibility. So a criticism isn't existing to tear it down and isn't existing to say, like, garbage, flop. They didn't even think about this. It's like, obviously, a lot of people thought about it very hard for a very long time, which is it's my responsibility to tell you this doesn't work. Do you know what I mean?
It also makes it all the more fascinating to me that Paradise Square took 10, 15 years to come to Broadway. I'm like, none of this was discussed and thrown away in these last 15 years. Anyway, speaking of flop, garbage, trash, but that's bringing it back to the plot we were talking about. That's sort of what Marvin Hamlish is getting at with the response to that workshop from the Schuberts and David Geffen. He's like, if you don't think things work, like, tell us why. We can make it better. We're good at what we do, and this is a good idea for a musical. We know it is. So, like, tell us what you think isn't working. We'll do it. But they just wouldn't even go that far of saying, like, you know, we believe in you and that you can make it better. We hear stories all the time from the 50s, 60s, 70s of, you know, musicals going out of town and just totally bombing. And then because production had faith in the creative team, they made it work. You know, like, Annie was a disaster at Goodspeed, and then they figured it out between Goodspeed and DC. They made it even better at DC, came to Broadway, was this huge hit. Forum, you know, any other producer would have closed it. But Hal Prince was like, no, this works. There's something missing. And then they figured it out because he believed in the team and he brought in an outside perspective. And it's a shame that the Schuberts and David Geffen didn't have that with Hamlish and Ashman. But two producers did believe in them. They go to Baltimore where they actually make the show worse. And this is because, as I said, it's the 80s. It's the more is more mentality of producing. It's the everything needs to be heartfelt because Les Mis is about to come on to Broadway. You know, Les Mis is this huge hit in London. Everyone has the recording. It's trying out in DC while Smile is going back into rehearsals for Broadway. And everyone's like, it's uplifting. It's a movement. It's a revolution. So like, okay, got it. People really like heart right now. We need heart in our musicals. We're doing a dark satirical comedy right now. Add more heart. Add more flash. The producers apparently really leaned on Ashman and Hamlish to give Jodie Benson more to do because they really thought she was going to be like the next big thing, and in a weird way she ended up being the next big thing, but not in the way they thought. And they get to Broadway and the reviews are mostly negative. Frank Rich's review is interesting. He's like, listen, Ashman has written some amazing lyrics. He's like, these might be my favorite lyrics in a while. He's like, Hamlish has actually written some really good music, but he's like, unfortunately, it does start to peter out in ingenuity as the show continues, which I disagree with. It's just that there become more pageant numbers, which thus means more pastiche numbers, which
Correct.
I think Hamlish does extraordinarily well.
It works extremely well on stage. It's not like if it came up on my shuffle, I would skip it. That's, I feel like, a fair thing to say, of just being like, in those later numbers that are meant to sound like a song written for a pageant, I would not listen to it out of context, but in context, it's extremely useful. It works.
Yeah. The show also got dinged a lot of the time for not having a lot of concrete, like, separate songs. It had a lot of musical sequences, which I think is a really stupid criticism.
Also I feel like we've outgrown that criticism. Like, now we like love that. We love shows that like move, no applause
Absolutely.
break, let's keep going. Yeah.
Well, because like
it is interesting that like I don't think that the show is worse because they added heart, because I think the parts that work extremely well, and I do feel for Doria, and I do love all of her little things that pop up in other group numbers. Like in the opening of Act 2, she has another part where she's like, Robin, I'm not going to win this, so like you have to go out. It's basically like, go out there and do it for me. It's like the best music in the whole show, and it's not even a song. It's just like her little tiny part of it, but it's like amazing lyrics, and it's so great.
Home in my room, there's a wall full of pictures, beautiful girls who win. You'll never know how I've longed to be one of them too. Home in my room, there's a drawer full of clippings, contests I'll never be in, magic I won't be a part of, except through you. So turn to the mirror.
And like, I don't know, I do think you feel for them as a duo. Like, I do think that there isn't a lot of, there's nothing too sardonic about the two of them as characters, and I do think you are meant to genuinely root for them and care about them, and that the part that is allowed to be made fun of is the concept of a pageant and why we care about them at all. And like,
don't get me wrong,
sorry,
though, Allie. Like the heart thing I'm talking about, it's not the Robin Doria stuff. That stuff is golden. They added more heart to the Brenda Bob stuff. They added,
boo.
Yeah, I know. And they the whole Brenda Bob stuff really changes from Broadway to Samuel French. And then also, like, it just, when you have too much heart in Smile, the stuff that is more sardonic comes off weird, because it becomes sort of the dichotomy of the earnestness and the satire clash sometimes. And I think the balance is blended a lot better in the Samuel French version, because there is still the heart of Doria and Robin, but they take away the heart from a lot of other characters. So the show is much more a satire, and Robin and Doria are the heart that make it bearable, because if there's no human on stage, like, audiences will just go, why am I watching this at all? I need something to connect to. I can't just watch a commentary the entire time. It's why, like, no one really does Brecht anymore, because it's all just commentary.
Do you know that you are the person who showed me Drop Dead Gorgeous for the first time?
I did not know that. I was the person who showed it to you the first time.
We watched it together, I think at your house or something like that, for the first time.
That makes sense.
Again, you were like, nobody knows this movie. It's amazing, whatever. And you're right. It is also unbelievably hard to find to watch now again.
Yeah.
Completely unrelated to this, I watched it again recently because I had to record a different podcast where we were talking about it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's impossible to compare. It's impossible not to compare Smile to Drop Dead Gorgeous, not just because it's about a pageant, obviously, but because they have this, there is a similar attempt here to care really genuinely about a few of the characters in it, while nonetheless maintaining an air of sardonic wit, acknowledging how silly this all is, acknowledging what kind of human adult really cares about a pageant and how weird those people can be, acknowledging the harm it causes to teenage girls that is sort of like put under the veneer of, no, she's a well-rounded contributor to the American society. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All of these things exist in both pieces of media.
Yeah.
And similarly, the parts of like Drop Dead Gorgeous that don't quote unquote work anymore are the ones that are like severely punching down and are just like, that character just simply doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Oops. The parts that still do work are still biting. Do you know what I mean? It still has something to like say. For example, I had like an argument on this podcast where we were talking about oh God, what song does she sing when they bring out the last winner and she's so sick from being anorexic that they have to
Don't Cry Out Loud,
and
she's
Don't Cry Out Loud.
Yeah.
So like they were like, do we think this, does this make your teeth grind? Are we a little like, what do we think about this? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna fight pretty hard for, we are not punching down on the poor girl in the chair. We are punching down on the organization that has driven her to these levels. And then, knowing that she's sick and unwell, instead of saying, we should find something else to do besides having our past winner come back, are so stuck in their obsessive, like it has to be the way we always do it. They force her to come back and do the number in a wheelchair, and everyone acts like it's all normal. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. No,
I don't think it's her. She is not the punching bag.
The joke.
Completely. Yeah. And so like I'm on the team of like, while other parts of this movie have not aged super well, like that is not one of those things. Like I think that character is not a punching down on people who are suffering from, you know, eating disorders and mental illnesses. Yeah. It's like it's punching down on the people who willfully give these things to people and then say, look, all the good we did. And like Smile exceeds in those ways. Smile succeeds. I said exceeds. Smile succeeds in those ways also.
Drop Dead Gorgeous it shares a lot of DNA with Smile, but Drop Dead Gorgeous is different because bitches die in Drop Dead Gorgeous. Like there's an explosion, like just there's like it goes even further than Smile ever would. Smile, I think
definitely.
Smile is like if Drop Dead Gorgeous and Election had a baby, because it's more about the politics of it, whereas I think what they share in terms of the satirical elements of a beauty pageant is the idea of how far people will go to put on a show. And that is, I think, where the joke comes from, as you were saying, with the don't cry out loud wheelchair bit. Even, Denise Richards dancing around with Jesus on the cross and Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. And Smile is similar, but in a little more, I'll say realistic, more in a realistic way, in the confines of actual show business.
The talents are less outrageous. The characters are less outrageous. But, like, in a similar way, it is really biting about what the use of a pageant even is. Mm-hmm. Like, even though Doria is, like, one of our, like, heart characters, let's say, when she's telling Robin, like, how she got to even winning her thing and, like, getting here and getting this far, she's like, oh yeah, like, a horny old dentist got, like, 15 girls in his office and I won. And you're like, hey, but, like, to her, she's like, whatever, I did it. I, like, it needed to be done and it got done and now I'm here. And so someday I'll go to Disney World. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? Like,
that's, I think, the thing about Smile, the show and the movie, no, the movie doesn't really do this. The show grapples with a bit more the idea of agency and, being in control of yourself and your narratives. Like Doria with the dentist thing. Yeah, it's not dentist. Skin doctor, dermatologist. I think
it might have been dentist in the movie. It's
a dermatologist because it's Miss Teenage Complexion, and the joke is that he's a horny skin doctor. He rented out a ballroom and made up this fake title so he could watch a bunch of 16, 17-year-old girls in bathing suits, and then he crowned Miss Teenage Complexion. And I think the show, they made a small little musical moment of it on Broadway, but I think they just cut the whole thing when it got to Stanley French. I can't remember, but in the movie, they acknowledge it. Robin's like, Jesus Christ, like, wasn't that awful? And Tori's like, no, I got $200 and got a wart removed. It was great.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'm here.
Yeah,
and then soon I'll be someplace better. And then soon it'll be someplace even better than that. Like,
yeah. And the show, having Robin, who is, a novice to all of it, is a great device, because you do need a novice to come in and ask the questions that the audience has, so we learn all about how pageants work and all the tactics and whatnot. And I think the show actually does a better job with Robin than the movie does. The movie, Robin is just sort of a bit of a dum-dum, and in the show they make her a bit more of a wet blanket, but if you play the role right, she's a wet blanket who's trying to do it correctly. She just has no idea what it is that she's doing. If you watch clips of Anna Marie Bobby doing it on Broadway, she's trying really hard to go against the idea of Robin being a killjoy. Her Robin is really trying to act like the rest of these girls, but her Robin is also kind of had Arrested Development from the fact that her father died when she was very young. Her mother definitely keeps her close by, has, infantilized her for the longest time. I think the costume design on Broadway, like Robin showing up in an oversized cardigan with bows while the rest of these girls are wearing skirts above the knee, because it's 1986,
right,
or 1985, 1986, is a good visual. Because Robin's arc in the show is growing up a bit and learning that, that she's capable of making shitty decisions for shitty reasons and to try to do better in the future. Like, she's not better than anybody else. She just can only try to work harder. But
right. And also, like, there's a very interesting thing that I probably, like, didn't understand as much when I was, like, an actual teenager reading this, but, like, now kind of strikes me, is, like, there's a subplot of the Doria and Robin relationship where Doria's like, listen, these judges love adversity. If you can have something to talk about that, like, sets you apart or is memorable or makes you sympathetic, it is stupid for you not to use it. You have to use it. It's insane that you won't mention that your dad is dead. And she's like, but it didn't really, like, affect me. Like, I was, like, 3 years old. I don't remember him. Usually what inspires when I tell people my dad is dead is that they feel sorry for me. But, like, I don't feel anything about it. And there's, like, a long time that she resents even the implication that it'd be worth it. Why does it matter? Shouldn't I just, like, play my instrument and get my money from being talented, and I'll answer the questions right because I'm smart? And then, like, by the end, like, when she gets hungrier for winning, she's like, okay, like, I guess I do have to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
And, like, it starts to be like, okay, fine, I'll use the sob story, which is similar to Doria being like, whatever, he was a horny skin doctor, doesn't matter to me, I'm here now, like, come on, like, you have to do what you gotta do. Like, there's a lot of, like, these things that drive these young women to have agency over their lives, but maybe in ways that like are kind of uncomfortable, like maybe not like, you know, super like a girl power moment. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well,
it's not like we all banded together and we stuck up to the man. It's like, oh, you just are realizing life sucks and you have a little tiny fingers in the grappling of the mountainside. That is what it means to be a 17-year-old girl facing the rest of your life as a woman. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure. I mean, I've never been a 17-year-old girl, but I knew all of you. But the Doria-Robin relationship, I think, is really important to the show, because for a show that's about women competing, having them and their friendship not really be competitive allows the show to then show the dark underside of the rest of the pageant and not get criticized for being anti-women, or like women can't ever like work together in any ways, if that makes sense. So like the Robin Doria situation that we're talking about, like they show up day one, as you said before, Doria's the vet. She's done this forever. She's been obsessed for years, comes from a bad home life. Mom's been remarried a bunch. Clearly, whoever she's married to now, they don't care about her. They have that great moment in the opening number where Robin is saying goodbye to her mom and hugging her, and you see Doria shout off stage, like, "I'm leaving. Anyone want to say bye to me? No? Okay."
Yeah.
So Doria puts a lot into the pageants because it gives her a sense of self-worth, and Robin fell into this by accident. A lot of people, they do answer the question of why Robin is there, because I feel like with a character like Robin, the beautiful without trying to be, which is the trope we all hate, but we know what Ashman means when he says that in the character description. She's a very natural human being, not just like in terms of looks, but she's not really,
yes.
she doesn't present herself. She just is. And she does the pageant thing because a teacher submitted her in the local pageant, because she's like, "You're pretty and you're incredibly smart. You have a 4.0 GPA. You play the flute. You volunteer at a nursing home. You have a job. It's just you and your mom. Like you could win this thing hands down. You're a model young girl." Because the whole thing about the pageant is supposed to be showing the community, like, look at these young women that we raise in America. They are the future, and aren't we doing a good job by creating these young girls, and they're setting an example for the future. It's not a beauty pageant. However, swimsuit is a part of it. Looks
exactly
and present.
There's a really good part in the movie that I actually can't remember if it sort of translates to the show, but I don't think it does. But like in the movie, Brenda, who was a former Teen American Miss, when she's instructing to the judges and like the panel of people, like what they should be looking out for, she specifically says, like, vote for the kind of girl you would be proud to call your daughter or your granddaughter, which is like the platonic ideal of what would be correct about a beauty pageant. Mm-hmm. But then also later, and again, this is a moment of satire, but like the son, who's a creep, we haven't even gotten into that yet, mm-hmm. Goes to his dad and is like, "Hey, are there a lot of like tubby girls in the pageant?" And the dad's like smiling, like, "No, son, there isn't."
Yeah.
It's like, right, because it has nothing to do with voting for who you would be proud to call your daughter or your granddaughter. It's about a lot of other things that you won't say.
Yeah.
Like, it does a really good job like showing that, like, I keep coming back to the same point, but it's like, it's not the girls' fault that they have to compete in this way. It's the fault of the expectations of decades upon decades upon decades of like what we conceive of as womanhood. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and so that is the constant struggle that really Robin is the one who represents it best of, do you want to be true to yourself or do you want to win? And they're two very different things, and it takes a certain kind of sacrifice to win. And then on top of that, it's just, what does winning even mean? You win prize money, you get a title, you then go off to the nationals. You don't even like this is just the state version. Like, you're not,
this isn't even Miss America.
there's a national version of this. So if you win this one, you have to go on to the next one, and then you only have that title for a year, and then you have to give it up. So, for, as we said, Doria, it's less about the prize money, more it's just about self-worth. She's always enrolling in pageants. Robin, I don't think she only really wants it for the scholarship money. and to also kind of like do the teacher proud who submitted her. And then when it becomes a possibility that she could win, because the way that the pageant works is there is preliminary night where there are 3 categories. There's it's like education, talent, and the interview.
Is it called like Vim and Vigor or something like that?
Vim and Vigor, yeah. Which I think comes from the interviews that they do, right? Is that
right?
Yeah. And
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and there are 5 finalists that get announced the night of the actual pageant, 3 of whom are, more often than not chosen from preliminary night. So education ends up going to Robin, Vim and Vigor goes to Sandra K. McAfee, and talent goes to Maria Gonzalez. And Doria really thought talent was her only shot because she's got terrible grades. I love the line she goes, if they don't like me taking my clothes off, it's easy to know that they're going to hate my grades. And so Robin is like, Doria is like, I have no shot anymore. There are 2 other slots. I'm not going to get it. And so she's like, Robin, you are my shot, which is with, where until tomorrow night comes in. And then Doria's, Robin, you're special. Robin, you're sparkle. Do it for me. And then what ends up happening is Doria does end up making it into the final 5, which becomes a final 4, which we will get into with Maria Gonzalez of it all. And so Robin and Doria end up sort of competing again. And Doria does what she does best. She knows how to say the right things. She says, you say blanket terms that they can sort of project themselves onto. It's what gets Sandra K. McAfee the crown in the end. Spoiler alert, Sandra K. McAfee wins. And that's when Robin uses her dead dad during In Our Hands, where she's like, I'm so close I can taste it. I'll push one over the edge. Doria keeps telling me to use orphan points.
Yes.
And there's a great line in the show that's not in the Samuel French version. If I were to direct the show, I would include it, which is when they are in their dorms together for the first time and Robin mentions her dead father. And Doria says, oh my God, you could really use that to your advantage, being a 4.0 student and getting there without a dad helping you. And there's a beat and Robin goes, you really think things like having a dead dad count up here? And then Doria.
That line's not in that's not in the Samuel French version. I remember saying that. I feel.
Well, Doria says it could help you, and then there's a beat. She's like, "Oh God, is that terrible to say?" And Robin's like, "I guess not." Robin's like, "I guess not. I don't remember him much." But in the show on Broadway, Doria just says it could help you, and then Robin says, "You really think things like having a dead dad count up here?" And then Doria says, "Everything counts up here," and I think it's so important to have that line in there just to sort of show.
Yeah, me too. Especially because it does set up. We just keep we keep talking about it like it's a fucking like Marvel movie surprise in the back half of the credits. We keep calling it the Maria Gonzalez of it all. Yeah. But like there's a whole thing of just like what can you use, what is yours, what makes you special, and like there's a line that Sean says. Well, so Sean is talking with. Sean is like the semi-villain of the piece, I suppose.
She's La Jolla's Young American Miss, yes.
And she's racist. Like, she is talking about how, like, there's been, like, 2 Black Miss Americas, 3 if you count Vanessa, which is already like, whoa!
Also, actually, so wait, Allie. So I sent Allie the video bootleg of the show as well as soundboard of the show so she could hear, like, clearly the text of it all, because Allie had never heard the Broadway version. I wish I had a way to send you the soundboard of the show at its final preview. We might have talked about this at one point, because the final Broadway preview is filled to the roof with homosexuals who are like there for Howard Ashman's big Broadway debut. And when I tell you that they get every single joke that he makes, like when Sean says there have been 2 Black Miss Americas if you count Vanessa, the fags in the mezzanine lose it.
Right. I mean, like, and it is a funny line, and it is like such an amazing encapsulation of people who think that way. Like, she is an extremely realistic character, whether you like it or not. And like her last line, she's like talking to her people, and she's being like, Maria's gonna win this because she's talented and all that stuff, and she gets all the Mexican points. God, I wish I was Jewish or disadvantaged or something.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
It's really
like
funny.
really, really funny.
Well, okay, so and it's true. I mean, and we talk about this now with Broadway, something that I've been told a lot, which no one will actually say in print or out loud. And I'm not going to say who said this to me because it was a few people, but a lot of people saying, like, with Broadway right now, it's never been easier to get a job if you are not white, because Broadway is just looking for that so much. And it's about using that to your advantage in a very pageant tree kind of way. That opens up another conversation of how Broadway doesn't actually understand what diversity means. They're like, oh, it's a checklist of ethnicities, right? We have 2 of this, 1 of this. I'm like, no, it's not just that. And on top of that, like, there's more,
right.
There's also,
and it's like, no, it's really cool because all of the lines and all of the songs and the characters exactly the same, so they are not informed in any way, shape, or form by their background. But here's somebody else doing the role, and it's like, I don't know if that's. It's not hashtag empowering.
It's not that empowering. It's also, Broadway goes, oh, diversity. So just having more black actors, right? And I'm like, no, there are other ethnicities, sweetie, like many more. And then on top of that, it's also size, vocal type, age, ability.
Yeah, truly.
It's a much larger conversation that requires a longer process. Point is, those kind of things being said is part of the smile of it all, where it's, use what you got, know that, you have to be special in some kind of way. And Sean sort of says the thing that is preempting Broadway today, where she says ethnic is in right now, which is so stupid to say, but it's also kind of true at the same time. And she just says it in just such a shallow, callous way that you have to laugh, because you also have to remember this bitch is 17, most likely smoking in the teacher's lounge. That's why it's so
funny. Exactly, because like she's also like set up as being sort of like ahead of the rest of the pack, sort of like, I don't know if I'm going to say even like mature in a way, but just like she, in the opening number, everyone else is like, where are my bows, my barrettes? Mom, this celebrity makes me look fat, and she's looking for her diaphragm, and she's like, oh, I should have never gotten off the pill. Like, this girl is running with an older crowd, I think. Well, and so like it's not surprising to me that like her perspective of the world has been also informed by some people who probably think the way that she has been like taught to parrot, of just being like, oh, she doesn't deserve it, she's just doing something different. Oh, she doesn't deserve it, she's just Mexican, and that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
Well, okay, so because you brought up that line, I want to talk about certain songs as well, because my God, am I obsessed with so many of these lyrics. But a great example of when the show changed from Broadway to Samuel French is the opening number, which is called Typical High School Senior. And originally the show opened with Robin packing her bags and reading the acceptance letter for the pageant, and singing like, who is she, who's this girl, who is she, which they thankfully cut. And a bunch of girls come on stage and they start to sing She's a Typical High School Senior, and it's all listing all the things that a young American Miss should do. And then they go into she's going to Santa Rosa, and Robin hugs her mom, and her mom's like, I'll miss you, don't change while you're there. And then the song ends. And when they got to Samuel French, they cut that whole beginning part with Robin, and they just have the head of the pageant, I forget his name, but no, douchey older white dude. And he says, what is a young American Miss? And they have these girls in the video going like, gosh, just real average, totally ordinary, and then listing all these things that are supposed to be like poster child all-American girl.
She's a typical high school senior. She is thoughtful and bright and clean. She is caring and kind. She reads books to the blind. She's no older than 17. And she usually works on yearbook while maintaining a 3.0. She's attractive and smart with an outgoing heart and a visible youthful glow. She is eager to please. Yes, in summary, she's the most typical girl.
But then the lyrics start to have a turn, where then the girls start to sing to each other.
That's a typical high school senior who puts rum in her coke and frequently smokes, but not in front of her folks. Like me.
Which shows the sort of underside, the darker underside of all that. And then we cut to how these girls actually are as they're getting ready to leave. And these girls are in fucking chaos. And we have Sean, we have a bunch of other girls. We have the girl who has her diaphragm might never go off the pill. One girl shouts, where the she has style, but her taste is simple. And then one girl shouts, where the fuck is my Ralph Lauren? And that is how I think Ashman found the balance much better in the licensed version of having the heart and the satire combine. Because then after all of this craziness, we then cut to Robin having a heartfelt moment with her mom saying goodbye, and Doria saying bye to her mom and stepdad, and they're not responding. And then going to the ending of the song. It's a really great balance. So I just wanted to bring up that line since you mentioned the diaphragm, why'd I ever get off the pill?
Yeah, I mean, and that's Sean. Like, that's how we are introduced to this character, who we will later see is sort of like, everybody wants the same thing, but she is sort of like operating / playing on a slightly more like quote unquote adult level. Do you know what I'm saying? Like like, I'm not gonna say that, like, she is the only, like, she's a bad girl. She's the only person who thinks of these things in a racist way. Like, I think probably, especially, like, in the movie, they show that, like, a lot of these girls are, like, very happy to, like, giggle behind their backs and, like, you know, like, look down on other people's achievements just for being, like, oh, you only got that because you're whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, like, she's the one who's, like, seeing it in, like, a manipulative way where it's like, oh no, she's as smart as I am, and so, like, she's using it like a puzzle, and, like, I resent her for that because, like, that means her life is better than mine. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like she is, like, being more adult in her, like, politics of it,
So what a wonderful
and
time.
not just, like, jealousy.
No. So what a wonderful time then to get into the Maria Gonzalez of it all, because there are so many things that I think the show improves upon the movie with, and things that have actually made the show age better than the movie. And one is Maria Gonzalez, and another is the photograph. Which, after watching the movie, by the way, were you shocked at how all that went down and how different it was and not nearly as good?
Yeah.
Very much more cringe in the movie.
It all sort of, yeah. I will say, like, I actually, like, really, really enjoyed probably the first, like, 2/3 of the movie, and I felt that the last third, like, really lost me. I felt like it lost a lot of the bite. I felt like it lost a lot of its momentum. I, like, didn't really understand why they had the perspective that they did on a lot of issues. I don't know, like, the beginning of the movie is so fun, like, watching all the, like, talent portions, and like, there's, like, the Doria talent is exactly the same as it is in the musical, as it is in the movie. In the musical, obviously, we don't understand what the audience reaction is because we are the audience. But, like, in the movie, it's, like, a really well shot sequence where she's, like, basically doing a striptease, but she's, like, hiding it behind, like, the virtues of inner beauty, and she's telling a story about, like, going to the library and reading a book, but, like, as she's doing it, she's like, I stripped off my hat, and then she's just, like, taking off all her clothes, and it, like, cuts to people in the audience, like, nodding and being like, yeah, finally the clothes are coming off. Do you know what I'm saying? And so you're like, oh, there's the bite.
And dirty middle-aged men who are in the orchestra for this, because they have, like, a live band and everything, they're making crude gestures about her to each other, because the whole joke of Doria's talent is, and Doria's aware of this. Doria's talent is she wrote a poem about the joys of inner beauty after reading a book at a library, and as she does this, she takes off all of her clothes and is just wearing, like, a leotard at the end because she's aware that she's hot, and that is what she's doing. She's very aware of it. And the movie, as you said, shows people's reactions, going like, okay, here we go, Lolita jailbait time. The show does the exact same thing, although Ashman rewrote a lot of the words so it could actually rhyme. In the movie, it doesn't rhyme. It's just, like, deaf poetry.
Doria's better at writing in the musical than she's in the movie.
Yes. But I also think that the rhymes help to make it funnier, because just rhyming puts things all together in a way that, you know, just random phrases do not. Like, in the movie, she's like, sparkly jewels, floppy hat, they were in, so I had them all. It's like, that, you're just, I don't know what you're doing, girl. But
yeah.
So in the movie, Maria Gonzalez, a lot of these girls are really secondary characters. Doria and Robin get the most screen time for sure, but I would even argue they are more like major supporting players in what is an ensemble piece, and the adults have a lot of time as well. Maria Gonzalez is mostly just shown as a kind of annoying contestant who is always spouting about the history of Mexico, and her talent is flaming batons, I think, where she talks about one is America, one is Mexico, and how, like, they become friends, right? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, it was sort of about, like, the American dream and how it's achievable for everybody.
Yes, and
then fire.
and when she's meeting with the judges, you know, when they meet with the elves, she goes, "You've been so nice enough to feed us. I would like to feed you with my homemade guacamole dip." And then when she's going in for her interview, Brenda's like, "Oh, is that your homemade guacamole? See, oh, the same ones that you brought to the Elks. See, and the Badgers. See, and the so and so's. See." Okay, Maria, go in. Like, you know that Maria's not doing this out of the goodness of her heart. It's her gimmick, right? It's right. I'm wholesome in my own way, but because I am Mexican, or come from Mexican descendancy, I am using that to my advantage as well as the thing that makes me special. And then the movie, the girls are just like, she's kind of annoying. So they do something to her batons. I think they fill them up with more powder so they explode. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it just doesn't. It, like, they all, it, like, seems like it's gonna be dangerous, and then, like, everyone in the audience screams and gets scared, but everything's, like, fine.
Yeah, and then nothing happens after that. And then but so also in the movie, the pageant coordinator Brenda is married to a dude who's a wet blanket. He's the one that we were talking about with the chicken butt and not wanting to kill himself because he's going to age out of fraternity. And then there's Big Bob, played by Henry Fonda. No, not Henry Fonda, Bruce Dern, who has a car company. He's got this little son, little Bob, and he's like, I'm going to make him just like me. And he's an all-American boy. Little does he know his son's a total creep who's wanting to take pictures of the girls in various states of undress. The show streamlines this and just makes Brenda and Bob married, and little Bob is their son. And
it's a good change.
It is a good change.
My cat is
Brenda
back.
Leslie,
you are gay.
Allie's cat is back. But so in the movie, as in the show, little Bob has a camera and he's going to take pictures of the girls in various states of undress. In the movie, this doesn't really go anywhere. It's been a minute since I've watched it, but I think Bob eventually finds out about it. Yes.
The kids get caught.
And then it becomes like a hot potato of, he's got like one photo because he gets caught by the girls, doesn't he, little Bob?
Yes.
Yeah. In the movie, he gets caught by the girls. It's a photo of Melanie Griffith that we don't ever see until the very end because it's a game of hot potato of like who has the photo. This photo is dirty, whatever, and then it ends up being like a trucker ends up getting it through a game of telephone. And the last shot is him in his truck with a topless Melanie Griffith in his rearview mirror. The show, Howard Ashman, God fucking bless him, recognized two things. He said, Maria Gonzalez is the only contestant of color in this pageant. She has to be aware that she is. She has to know that she has to work harder, and she has to look around and go, this is 1986 California, and I am Mexican. The only thing these judges know of Latin culture is West Side Story and Saludos Amigos. I could be true to my...
I mean, even in her opening song, she's like, every sign that you see on the highway, Taco Bell, which, like, isn't even Mexican food, like, ostensibly.
No, but it's what the judges
just,
know.
Like, fully playing into the white person stereotype, just being like, I will give you what you want.
Absolutely, and she's rewarded for it.
It's like what I'm saying about, like, It's everybody. Not to like go too far back to like a point I was saying of just being like Robin deciding, okay, fine, I'll tell the story about my dad, but I'm doing it on my fucking terms because like I know I want something, and like I might not like agree with the the need to put my trauma on display to get sympathy points, but like if you're telling me this is how I win, maybe I want to win. Like the show is like. The show, I think, is successful because it acknowledges that a pageant is not necessarily a particularly feminist thing, but it still gives these women enough agency within it to show them in a way that I feel is like sort of shockingly progressively feminist for the time. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, sometimes surviving and doing what needs to be done on my terms, even though I am fully playing a man's game and there's no way to like win your man's game. This is how I win to the best of my ability, and this is how I like take control of like what I've got and like what I can use in my arsenal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think with Maria, if Maria didn't win talent, all of our points would be going down the drain, but she wins talent. She says, I could either be true to myself and my heritage and like really honor what I come from, or I could win. So let me do this really stereotypical cooking musical demonstration, and she wins talent. She is her point of view on all this is justified with these white judges awarding her, and then giving Sandra K. McAfee vim and vigor for giving the most middle of the road answers during her interview. Like they ask her in her interview, what do you think of the women's lib movement? And she's like, well, in some ways I think it's really good, and in some ways I think it's really bad. I think we all believe in equality, but is too much equality a good thing? Like she never actually answers the question, and that is why she wins in the end. She just is so middle of the road. I also love, sorry, we're going all over the place, but I love when Robin is interviewed and they go, Robin, you have a 4.0 grade point average. You are in band. You volunteer at the Senior Citizen Center, and you have a part-time job at Neiman Marcus. Do you find juggling all of that difficult? And Robin goes, of course. And then there's the longest pause as the judges are like, not the answer we were hoping for. Like they want,
exactly.
They want, it can be difficult, but it's so rewarding in the end. She's like, no, it sucks. It's really hard. She's like, the fact that I succeed proves that like I'm tired all the time. Anyway, the photograph. Howard Ashman also watches this movie clearly and is like, that photograph is disgusting, and I hate how the movie ends with it as a button with a joke with like a topless Melanie Griffith. He's like, that's not how this should go. He's like, that is a violation of this young girl's body. This is not a joke. And I'm like, God bless you, Howard Ashman. So he combines the two of the Maria Gonzalez of it all with the photograph, and he goes, okay, Sean Christensen is going to discover little Bob trying to take a photograph of girls in the bathroom in the Act 1 finale. And she goes, and she has an idea. So little Bob ends up getting a photograph of Maria in the bathroom, and in the opening number of the actual pageant, after Maria has won talent, and she is almost certain to go into the top 5, all the girls are singing the song Smile, and they each say a thing that they're smiling about, and I want to talk about that as well with Robin's arc, because it's a good arc. But as they come down stage throughout the song, each one gets a little glamour shot shown on screen behind them, and Maria, wouldn't you know it, is the last girl whose photograph goes up, but instead of her smiling, Sean has switched out the slide of Maria's headshot with Maria naked in the bathroom. And that is enough for anyone to want to get the fuck out of there and like fall apart. And Maria runs off stage in tears. None of the girls can help her because they are all being told, you got to go into your next outfit. And in the licensed version, Ashman has Maria talking to Brenda, and Brenda's like, we don't know what happened. You have to go out there. You have to do your talent. That's what happens. You know, the winner of talent has to go out there. You're going to be in the top 5. Do this. And Maria goes, we may not know who did it, but you know why they did it. And this is on you. And then she's like, and I'm out of here. And she leaves. And then to make matters even worse, Wilson Shears comes on backstage, and he's like, Brenda, I want that girl out of here. How dare she pull a stunt like that? He starts blaming Maria, victim blaming. And Brenda, because it's more important to her to be promoted within the pageant system because her job is on the line, she says, don't worry, I sent her home. Like, immediately starts to spin it. And, like, has no time to defend Maria for the violation of her body. Too much is on the line, so she just immediately goes, yep, absolutely, I sent her home. Don't worry about it. And Bob is the only one who's like, is this what it's all come to? Like, this is supposed to be about the future and, you know, showing that these girls are prime examples for our community, and we're letting them down.
Right.
Yeah, it's why, like, Bob is not fun to watch, but he, in addition to Robin and Doria, he's the only one who, like, kind of has a bit of a conscience as well, and has a lot of this has all these tumultuous feelings about it. And the marriage he has with Brenda in the show is shown as, like, she's hardened over the years because she didn't actually win Young American Miss, and this is her chance to win again by being promoted, and they're letting their young son slide, and he's already becoming a predator, and Bob's the one who's realizing how the American dream is flawed and not real. And it's got a lot to say, and I think it says a lot of it very well.
You've raised them tall, you've taught them well. Now time must tell as they begin. We are your own, we are your children. We are the future that you've made. We face the world you've set before us.
It's a shame that the adult characters are so boring, because, like, I do think that the way that the rewrites are set up, they are extremely necessary. Mm-hmm. Because, again, like I'm saying, if what we are saying is pageants are inherently set up in a way that is, like, sexist, patriarchal, racist, whatever it is, then the girls in the pageant can't be, like, all bad people, because, like, we have to understand that they're existing within, like, a framework, and they're, like, trying their best to win their way out of the framework. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. To draw it kind of similarly to, like, a moment in Drop Dead Gorgeous, which is, again, even more sardonic and more biting. But there is a moment where Kirsten Dunst is talking to her mom, and her mom is like, you gotta get out of here. Like, there's nothing good happens here. Nothing good will ever happen here. Look at me as a prime example. I know you love me. Don't try and say, you know, no, you're perfect. I know I'm not. Look at where I am. Like, look at what my life has amounted to. Mm-hmm. I refuse to let that happen to you. You got to go out there and win. You got to do whatever you can. And, like, you know, obviously this is coming in a moment where she's, like, fearful for her life and things like that. And her mom's, like, being, like, basically saying, like, you can't give up because this is it.
Someone's trying to kill you. You can't give up because someone's trying to blow you up, Kirsten. Get out there and do a pageant.
But like that, like in that moment, it is played with earnestness of her just being like, "This is your. I am watching your shot disappear. Get back out there and do it. Like, don't let anybody intimidate you. Don't let anybody fuck with you. Go win. Do you know what I mean?" And
No,
that, like,
absolutely.
it is necessary for these adult characters to exist because we need somebody like Bob to call it out and be like, wait a minute, I thought you literally told me to vote for a girl who I'd be proud to call my daughter. If this happened to my daughter, I'd be losing my mind. And they're all like, we'll have to figure it out later. The show must go on. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's important that, like, that moral compass exists.
Yeah. This is not the most fun as other things to watch.
Well, they don't. There's just like there's sort of like what I would call like manufactured drama of just like, I'm bored, life is weird, my job sucks. I don't know. It's just like they just like didn't mine for real drama for the adults the way that they did for the kids. And like again, you really feel for the participants. Like all of the Doria stuff is like very. It's very like subtly done is not quite necessarily the appropriate word, but you know what I'm saying, like that thing of her just being like, isn't anybody gonna say goodbye to me?
Yeah.
like
it's very compassionate.
You know,
it's compassionately done.
Yes,
yeah.
That's a great word. And it's like even in like Disneyland, which is about her discontent with her life and how she wants to like go live in a dream world. Mm-hmm. It's still like the lyrics aren't like, I am unhappy, I wish I lived someplace else, I wish I could be in a world where things were magic. Like it's just like it's like little throwaway lines about like the folks are busy fighting. Mm-hmm. And then like there's like been lines like Joe already left home. You're like, who's Joe? We don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, and we never will. Like that's like the brilliance of Howard Ashman's writing, that like because we live in the real world, we can fill in with real world facts and we don't have to like have everything fucking spelled out for us.
Yeah, no, there's
but
there's
like
enough
none of that
details
love is given
in
to
there.
the adults.
No, there's enough details, and I think that was actually a really good time to talk about some specific songs. We can start right off the bat with Disneyland, which is the big song that like has had the longest life from this show because it is the most like standalone, go into an audition room and sing it song. And Jodie Benson was the original Doria. She began it. This song is, I think, an exceptional song. Howard Ashman was the master of the I Want song, which is not a term that he coined, but it is the term that he made probably most internationally known. Because
completely.
Especially with Disney, like he shows up at Disney during this time and gives them a whole lecture rundown of the history of musical theater and how it correlates with the history of Disney. And
it's so funny for like, did you see the
Yes.
Tiny Desk at Home concert with Alan Menken and all the people from Little Shop?
Yes.
Okay, so I was just talking about this with somebody where I was like, obviously the term I Want song didn't originate with like their tenure at Disney. Obviously we can think back to as long as anything is written, even opera, whatever, and like there's still been like I Want songs, even songs that go, all I want is a room somewhere. So
yeah.
It's not like they were like, hey, here's an I Want song. But most people's first encounter with a musical is Disney. Most person's first encounter with the form of a musical is like popping in the DVD of Beauty and the Beast. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so like their version of an I Want song has become sort of inextricable from the modern concept of musicals, because most people who are alive to write, create, want to see musicals, like first saw a musical when their parents were like, oh, shut up, here's Little Mermaid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so like their pioneering of the I Want song has become the capital V THEE I Want song, because we're a new generation, and that's that is what we understand a musical to be.
Well, and also, Ashman didn't create the I Want song, but I think he perfected. He wrote 3 perfect I Want songs, 2 of which are internationally known, and then 1 of which is known in musical theater circles, and it's Somewhere That's Green, Part of Your World, and Disneyland. Part of Your World, which they jokingly called Somewhere That's Wet or Somewhere That's Dry.
Wet.
Yeah, Somewhere That's Wet, which is actually it should be Somewhere That's Dry, because that's what Ariel wants.
True.
But it follows very very similar structure to Somewhere That's Green. But it's here's my situation, here's what doesn't work about it, here's what I want. It's something over there. It's something that is almost attainable, but not quite. And there's a sadness to all three songs as well. Like, it's not defiant, I want. There is a tinge of loneliness about it, of sadness about it, that makes it so earnest. There's this great thing they do when you watch the video of Jody doing it on Broadway, or even like listening to the recording of it on Broadway, which, you know, it's because it's Jody belts. Jody's a big old belter, and Hamlish loves to give his women big money notes, and the song starts to build in kind of a mania when we get to the bridge of the, I know you're going to say
the trees are paper mache. It's done with mirrors, the magic there. Each little bird's full of springs. You press a button, it sings recorded music in the air. They've had the mountain refaced. It's only plywood and paste. Go on, say it. I'll turn around and tell you I don't care. I don't care.
And on Broadway, they had the orchestra cut out on that care, which I think is it's just a detail. Yeah, because most people do that, I don't care, boom. And because Ashman was the director and he and Benson, you know, had a rapport, they really clicked on this. She got what the root of the song was, which is sort of, you know, the loneliness of it, and the what's the word I'm looking for? It's like there's a word for sort of head in the sand syndrome, you know, the denial, I suppose. So that I don't care is not meant to be successful. It's sort of getting down on yourself. So I love that whole like I don't care, and then it ends in triumph or semi-triumph. Yeah, it's the details in this song are really what make it so successful, because as you said, like there's the Joe, the folks were fighting, like it's not explaining everything full out. He doesn't say like Joe had already left home a year ago when Joe was 19, and Joe is my half brother, and we have different fathers.
Exactly. And like there are definitely lesser songwriters who have written many a song who like feel that if they don't spell out everything, there's a fear that the audience will misconstrue what I meant, and so I won't leave it up to your imagination. I won't leave it up to your intelligence and like knowledge of like what happens in the world. I will say specifically, my daddy hit me because he used to fight with my older brother Joe. So Joe moved out when he was old enough, but I'm too young to leave the house, so I'm stuck at home. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it takes a sort of confidence as a writer to be like, I trust we're on the same page. Yeah. And then for an audience to go, yes, sir, I've absolutely got you, is like such a magical experience. Like,
oh yeah. Well,
it's so wonderful and like rewarding, and like I do feel that Howard Ashman is like king of like, hey, I filled it in halfway. We all live on the same planet, don't we?
Well,
he got the picture.
It's what it takes is you have to have all the details on your side, and then you just remove, right? It's building the world around the character and having all the answers. It's very Miyazaki, right? It's you know, there's that great interview when he's doing a Q&A about Totoro, and they're like, so what is Totoro? And he's like explaining how the forest works in that movie, and they're like, why didn't you mention any of this in the movie? He's like, because it wasn't important. He's like, it's not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how you feel at the end of the movie, whether or not you know how the forest works. Like, did you feel something? Did we all agree that we felt something? Great. Like, congratulations. Go home and get a good night's sleep now.
Yeah, he's like, I gave you enough information about the hierarchy of that forest that, you know, it mattered to the story. I'm not going to have 5 minutes to go down all the details. He's like, fill in the blanks, use your imagination. But, like, I did do the work. It's like there's a paper somewhere that shows how the whole social circle of the forest works. I just didn't include it. And Ashman very much does the same thing with Doria. Like, has all the stuff filled out, and then he's like, I will use this line here to acknowledge it. And it's important to also remember how Disneyland comes about. It's their first night in the dorms, no man's land, as they like to call it. And Doria and Robin are sort of talking about their histories, and Doria talks about all the pageants that she's won, and she knows every Miss America winner of all time, because this is what matters to her. And she says it all started when I watched Miss Disneyland, which is not a title that really exists, in case anyone's wondering. Oh, no, sorry. Sorry.
Yes, you can't want to be Miss Disneyland.
Yeah, you can't win Miss Disneyland.
Anaheim or something?
Yeah, Miss Anaheim, which I guess, maybe you win if you're going to, local then state pageantry. But she's like, I'm going to enter Miss Disneyland one day. I'm like, that's not real. But she's, I can't wait to see it. It's like she thinks it's going to be magical, her Mecca, and Robin being Robin is like, well, I've been there and it's kind of tacky, but I hope you like it. Anyway, have a good night.
Yeah. She's sweet about it too, where she's like, oh, I don't want you to get your hopes up too much, because you're basically an adult now, and the birds aren't even real, and it's a lot of gift shops and stuff. She's not even trying to be
she's not trying to be a douche.
Oh, Doria, you dumb little fool.
Yeah.
She's just sort of like, oh yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a thing for kids, so I hope you don't get
yeah, she's like,
don't get your hopes up too much.
Yeah, she's like, don't expect too much. She literally says it's what do you say? It's cute, or it's cute, or it's nice in a tacky sort of way. And she mentions how she heard birds singing and she looked up and there were speakers in the trees, and it creeps Robin out. And she's like, it might creep you out too. It creeps a lot of grown people out. So please don't put all your eggs in this basket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Disneyland is a perfect song.
It is. What are other songs you love in this show?
Until Tomorrow Night.
Yeah.
Until Tomorrow Night is the Act 1 finale. Mm-hmm. It is phenomenal. It has a very fun one piano note motif that just sort of amps up the anxiety. It's also just I just really love to hear a bunch of women singing. I just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who doesn't like hearing a lot of ladies belting and screaming? And it's a fun little character portrait, just watching all the girls freaking out. And then, of course, it also has this lovely moment for Doria with the riff that we love so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Until Tomorrow Night is an amazing song.
It also has, so another thing Ashman was really great at, and unfortunately he never really got to show it off for Disney, but you hear it in all of his musical theater scores. Ashman was the king of pop culture and was so good at including it in his lyrics. So Until Tomorrow Night and Shine has some of my favorite pop culture lyrics. One of my favorites is, so it also the other thing about Smile, and something that Frank Rich noticed in his review, is it's also a love letter to Broadway, in the sense that it uses so many shows that came before it as reference. So the way they use the sinks in the bathroom is very similar to how they originally used the bathroom sinks in How to Succeed in Business, and the Act 1 finale is similar, a golden age, here's where everyone is at this moment in time, throwing in different melodies together and songs together. I love when the girls come back in with typical high school senior who's all nerves, just shit like that. It's very exciting. And when you listen to the demo version, so the demo version also, by the way, I go all over the place, but I don't fucking care. This is my Smile episode and I get to do it. The demo version is done with 6 people and 2 synthesizers, because it was just, for Samuel French to, when they licensed out the show, it's here's what the score is supposed to sound like. Because when the show closed, actually no, even before then, when the show opened on Broadway and got mixed to negative reviews, Marvin Hamlish pieced the fuck out. He's like, I'm done. This is my first Broadway flop. I don't want to be seen with this thing. And it's, he made it very difficult for anyone to record music from the show professionally because of that. He was so embarrassed by it.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, little did he know.
The music is so good. I can't imagine hearing the score he wrote and being like, everybody shut up. Don't record this. It's I would be like, fuck you. Yeah. Everybody has to hear this more.
I think everyone needs to hear the score. And I'm hoping now that he's dead, his estate will be a little more forthcoming about it. But at the time, this was his big flop. And he would go on to have worse flops than this one. I mean, Goodbye Girl and Sweet Smell of Success both got Best Musical Tony nominations, which Smile never did. But Smile is more well-regarded than Goodbye Girl and Sweet Smell of Success, completely. And then he had shows that just never came to Broadway. So looking back, Smile is the best of the bunch, head and shoulders above them. But for a long time, he was very embarrassed by it and left the show. And Howard Ashman kind of had to stick around to keep morale up. They, talked about in the Howard documentary, he would come backstage all the time and try to get them excited to do the show. And then he felt bad about the show closing, so he got Disney to agree to let any girl who was in the show audition for Little Mermaid, which he was working on at the time. And then we all know the story, Jodie's one who gets it.
Of course.
But he had no clout at Disney, even though Disney was kind of sinking, Disney Animation was sinking. he still was like, please, these are all really talented young women. I'm so upset for them that like this opportunity didn't work out. Like, can we give them this second opportunity? And they're like, yeah, sure, fine. So all these young women got to audition, and he gave the tapes blank to the directors with like no name on it, no headshot, so that way they didn't associate it with anyone who had a different part in the show. He was like, I want you to just judge the voice and judge the performance. Don't go like, oh yes, well clearly we want the lead of your show. Like Jodie got it.
Totally.
Jodie got it without them knowing it was Jodie.
That's really cool. I actually didn't know that, or if I did know that, I forgot that. But I find that very admirable.
Yeah,
because a lot of people just like to love to cash in on their everybody likes to feel like the smartest person who invented the thing and discovered the thing. And so I feel like there is a lesser person who could be like, and Jodie, who, by the way, we discovered.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and want to take some credit for the talent she brought to the table. But he's like very happy to just be like, they're all really talented and I think they're all fantastic. Please just like give them a shot.
Yeah. And Jodie says Jodie says, I'm convinced the only reason I got the job is Howard sent all the girls a demo of him singing Part of Your World so they could learn it. Because it's the 80s and, you know, that's how you learn the stuff. And she was like, I just mimicked everything Howard did. I mimicked his acting beats. I mimicked how long he held notes. And she's like, and I got the job doing that. She's like, I do not flatter myself that I'm more talented or more special than any of those girls. I'm just the only one who knew to copy Howard.
Yeah. Although you will... I'm assuming people who are listening to this are listening to this because they like Smile, but I guess for the person who hasn't listened to it, like, Jodie Benson's voice on the Smile recording is so unbelievably special. Like, it is in my opinion, like, truly, like, a must listen. It's, like, very bright and expressive, and I feel like you have a very clear sense of her performance just from listening to her performance on the recording.
Oh, absolutely.
Which I love. I feel like we have like lost some of that in our modern recordings where things have to be like really like note perfect, but like
yeah, and pristine and clean. Yeah,
I always felt I understood her performance just by listening to it. And it's also really funny that we started this podcast with you saying like you were really proud of your performance, because like I remember being really embarrassed by my production of Smile because
I didn't say you were proud of your performance. I said you were proud of your Evita pose.
Okay, that makes more sense. I can understand me. I can understand me saying I was proud of a joke that I did for you in a musical, as seen by many people, including not you. So that makes sense to me. But like like when you're a teenager and you're like doing theater and you don't feel like the quality of the theater is matching like your the dream in your head.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I did not go to a school that had like a big robust theater program, and I was like really like chafing at the edges. And, like, I remember being, like, so embarrassed by being like, but I have such a clear idea in my head of who Doria is. And, like, I felt very inspired by how emotional Jodie Benson sounds on the recording. And I remember being like, she's a raw nerve. She's a live wire. She could cry at any minute. The smiling is just to keep it together. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember feeling like I had so many ideas about her. But, like, you know, what the fuck do ideas mean when, like, you're stumbling on your carpeted stage with this show that has been like hardly staged? I don't know.
Yeah. There's also really I want to be very clear. I adore Jodie, and I do think she's special. I'm quoting Jodie in the documentary where she's like, I'm not very special. I copied Howard.
No, I didn't think that you were like putting Jodie Benson slander on the timeline.
I just want everyone to know, because goddamn at this point, people should know, because I have praised that hoe so many times. Everyone knows my thoughts on Smile and Mermaid, and like her voice is insane on the Crazy for You cast album. There's also a video of her doing chess in California in the early 90s. That's incredible. She is extraordinarily talented, and she sings Disneyland so well. How do we even get here? So, yeah, the demo is Jodie and Anna Marie Bobby. Howard Ashman does a bunch of stuff, plays a bunch of roles, and they're like 3 women. But so Until Tomorrow Night, hearing those like 5 women just sing it and, you know, really sing their tits off, but there's a nice blend to it, and you have the synthesizer, which gives it a nice kind of campy, satirical feel. Then listening to the Broadway soundboard with almost 20 girls and a 25-piece orchestra, you're like, oh, this is loud. This is big. And I get why this maybe didn't register at the time, because it being the 80s and then going out of town and going like, we have to compete with Cats and Les Mis, they just kept making the show bigger than it needed to be. And especially that song, which has, as you know, it starts with that one note, that da 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 da. And I think they either wrote it out of town or they wrote it right before they went out of town, because Hamlish talked about it in the documentary. He's like, I think
it must have been before they were out of town, because I remember seeing footage of it from that production in Baltimore, and then the audience is reacting really positively.
Yeah, it wasn't in the workshop. It was a new song because they needed a new Act 1 finale, and they're talking about how the stakes are high and everyone's anxious, and Marvin just starts plunking out the one note and does it over and over again. He's like, wait a second, I think that's the beginning of it. And then that led to the song, and you get anxiety in that song with that one note and the way that it builds. And if I were to direct it, I want to keep the bombastic nature at the end, but it has to build there, especially because the lyrics are just so good, which brings me to what I was going to say 5,000 years ago, which is one of my favorite lyrics. This is on me. One of my favorite lyrics in the show is a pop culture reference where the girls ask, I think it's, how have I gone so far? I wish I'd look like Terry Garr. I wonder what my chances are. It's so bizarre until tomorrow night. And Terry Garr in 1986 was like beautiful upon beautiful, like movie star looking. And I just love that these girls are like, they have every thought in their head going all at once. And I just love that, like, Howard Ashman has time for a little pop culture reference in there. I also love the lyric, look, there's the windowsill. I think I'll jump. I won't. I will. Why not? There's nothing left to kill. My heart be still until tomorrow night. I'm like, go fuck
those
yourself.
Those are amazing, amazing lyrics.
I sense a feeling in this place. It's making me a basket case. The stakes are too high. They unnerve and unglue me. I can't cool off. I can't relax. Two kids my age have heart attacks. I'm too young to die. Why's it happening to me? What do they want from me? I'll do it. I swear it. Just say what color do they like, and I'll wear it. Look, there's a windowsill. I think I'll jump. I won't. I will. Why not? There's nothing left to kill. My heart be still until tomorrow night. I can't believe she won, because when it's said and done, you know she really doesn't deserve it.
Even the whole like craziness of the dressing room, I'm obsessed with. Which again, Ashman altered a bit for Broadway. It's those things where, like, the lyrics on Broadway, they're good. It's just they got better. He just made it even better, and
completely.
And I'm glad that he didn't settle for what was just good, because even the lyrics that the girls saying to each other, Sean. And they're also specific. You don't even need to see what's happening to know what's happening. How can you eat that? I was hungry. I'll be fine. Shit like that, where it's like, that Sean is judging another girl for eating something fatty, who lost a rosary. Oh, gracias, it's mine. It's Maria. It's just It's fantastic. It's so fantastic. And then I also want to get into the lyrics for Shine. Because goddammit, Allie Gordon, if ever there was a musical sequence that I'm obsessed with and no one talks about enough, it is Shine.
Shine is fantastic.
And is it interesting to watch the Broadway version and see how they changed it?
Yes, very much so. I had no idea. I genuinely did not know how different the version of the licensed version of Smile is from the Broadway version.
Yeah.
All of the changes are smart. All of them are for the better.
Yes. So so Shine is the number where we have Tommy French, the smoking, coffee drinking, over it choreographer, teaches the girls. It's essentially like the physical fitness routine. To put it in perspective with Drop Dead Gorgeous, it would be the number with the benches with the paint. And
totally.
Yes. So Tommy's teaching them. Except good. Tommy's teaching them it. And in the stage show, the whole structure of it is that they're bad and then they get good by the end of it. And while this is happening, the girls are also meeting the Elks and saying their little speeches. And then we check in with Brenda, who's ready to finally win this time. On Broadway, it's mostly, Tommy is, dancing about a storm. And it's funny to watch this guy who's, like, definitely past his prime, dancing full out with these girls falling on their backs. And then on top of this, you have Big Bob leading the girls with the Elks. And then Brenda shows up, finding out that she's going to give a speech at the pageant. And that's sort of it. Oh, and then we have Doria and Robin have a minute together after Doria has bombed her minute with the Elks. And it's a great transition that I love on a chemical level, but I think that it's better in the Samuel French version on a storytelling level, which is when Doria says, this is my year, Rob. I can feel it. I can taste it. Oh, God, I want to win so bad. Bomb! You say, like, it's a great intro into it, and I love it on a chemical level, but it's better in French. Anyway, the licensing version. I bring this up because the licensing version, the two major arcs are the girls learning the number, and then Brenda sort of micromanaging the entire pageant now that she knows that the head of the company that sponsors the pageant is going to be there to watch how well it goes and possibly promote her. So those things are all sort of interconnected, and there's a bit more of a darker edge to it. So like Brenda says to the Elks, this is not about physical beauty. The pageant is not a meat show. And then right on cue, Tommy shouts to the girls while rehearsing, thrust with the pelvis. And I love, it's changed like that really show you that like they added some of the edge back in. And then all of Ashman's lyrics luckily are unchanged. You'll feel healthy and Jane Fondaful. Which is, I'm sorry, that is a lyric that is
lyric.
It's fantastic because it's
just beyond.
It's camp and not camp at the same time, and he gets away with it because the song is meant to sort of be camp. It's I want to punch him in the face and then kiss him on the mouth. But there's a moment, and you and I talked about this at drinks a while ago, Allie Gordon, and I don't know if I've ever actually said this on the podcast. I've told this to people in person, but I want to now talk about this in regards to my Maria Gonzalez view.
Yes, I know what you're going to say.
Yes.
Please do.
So, there is a brief moment in Shine, in the licensing version, where the girls have to practice their talent in a room with stage management before they eventually do it for preliminaries later that night. Talent rehearsals, room 415, and we get to Maria, and she's with the stage manager, and she's going through all the sound cues for her cooking demonstration, which we will see in about 15 minutes. And she's all business. And she says, cue the music here, blah, blah, blah. I say, clever mamacita, laugh, laugh, laugh. I gesture, cue the tape with my backup singers. You got it. And then someone shouts, are you ready, Maria? And she turns around, smile on, and goes, see, which is Ashman trying to have that whole election Reese Witherspoon element of like, she's all business. And then when someone who actually has a say in the matter is there, she's back on.
It's a musical home economics demonstration. Very difficult, so timing is everything. It's all on this sheet so you can study it. I hold up the chili rellenos, applause, applause, applause. You hit me with the spot. I do the break, say clever mamacita, laugh, laugh, laugh. I gesture, cue the tape with my backup singers. You got it?
Are you ready, Maria?
See.
I really want, when I direct Smile, to drive home that Maria is fully aware of what she's doing. We meet Maria. She has her scene with Sean. She gives the guacamole to the judges, and she has, her thick accent. She goes, I am Maria Gonzalez. And then in Shine, when no one is watching, and it's really important that this
it's just
stage,
her and the tech person.
Yeah, and it's really important that the tech person knows exactly what to do. So, like, pretense falls away. The accent goes away. And we hear Maria just say flat out, this blah, cue the tape with my backup singers. You got it? And then when someone important comes back on stage, they say, are you ready, Maria? Accent is back, and she goes, see, and walks off stage. And we get in that moment that all these stereotypes that people are judging the show for, Maria is in full control of.
Yeah.
I think
and I think that's like a great way to direct it, and I think it would like help with some of the stuff if we were doing it in a modern way. Mm-hmm. And I will also say, not that you're not saying this, but to affirm that I think the book is doing a really good job of affirming that Maria's in on it too. Like, even like it feels in line with Howard Ashman's vision. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You're not
changing
like a crazy
a word
John
of it.
Doyle. Like, we're changing everything. Like, it is exactly what they meant. I just think it's like another really good way to acknowledge how in control she can be. And then I also think it makes it even sadder when like the control is ripped from her in like an act of violence, because like
Absolutely.
She's so savvy, and like obviously she's playing by the rules of somebody else's game, but she's winning. Mm-hmm. which is like sucks, because like obviously we want this to be the world where everybody's rules can win. It doesn't have to just be like the white homogeny. Mm-hmm. But like, do you know what I mean? But like the fact that she's like, fuck you, I'll win, I won't even win playing your game, I'll play my own game and I'll still win. That like it's very tragic that like everybody's soft spot, everybody's downfall is like the same thing, which is like having your like humanity stripped from you, and like being embarrassed and not being stuck up for, and like all those things. Like, those are the things you can't win because they're unwinnable. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there's no amount of savviness that gets her out of that. Like, it's just an act of violence, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I would love to see a revival of Smile. I know that you are right that there is a lot that needs to be looked at with a critical eye, but like, it does not feel like a glass case, can't touch it, this musical just won't work musical. Like, it really, I would just like really love to see somebody's take on it.
I think the way to do Smile is you definitely have to treat it as a period piece, if only because of all the references. Also, one of my other favorite things in the soundboard from the final preview is when they're doing Young and American, which is the performance for preliminaries, and they sing like Jerry Ferrara, We Girls of Tomorrow. You hear, again, the entire audience just guffaw at the audacity of that rhyme. And that's not something that I think a lot of people would laugh at today, because Gen Z doesn't know who the fuck Geraldine Ferrara was. But
right.
That said, you have to use it in that context, because the similarities between present day and 1986, they're just way too many. And to keep it from seeming heavy-handed, you can't look at the audience and go, see the mirroring. Just like play it very much as 1986, play the satire, and audiences will make the connection on their own. I think something like not having Maria put on an accent and then having 1 second where the accent goes away, as you said, it's all I'm trying to do with that, as you were mentioning, is make it more overt of what Ashman and Hamlish were doing in the script, because I think it's there. And if you watch it on the Broadway version, like a lot of Maria's scenes actually are cut, which makes it a little more of a gray area, but they add them back in for the licensing version to make it very clear that she is smart, she's on top of this. And the tragedy of her storyline is like, America falls under this myth that isn't true of hard work will find you success, and success means money and doing things your own way. And, you know, if you're not making enough money, you're not working hard enough. If you're not successful, you're not working hard enough. And sometimes you got to play the game if you want to win the game. And Maria is someone who is playing the game smartly and would probably have won, but because someone else who has so much more agency than she does is able to undermine her, Maria can't bounce back from that in the same way that anyone else could. And
yes,
so like,
and also just because like there is an acknowledgement in the show from the people's reactions to it that like show that the natural inclination is always to blame the woman in the situation, even if you're being like, no, it's horrible that it happened, like we would never want this to happen on our stage. Obviously she can't continue in the competition because there's just too much drama. Yeah, that is still victim blaming. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, it is still putting her at a disadvantage, even if the words are correct. If the actions don't meet the words, then it's, I don't know, like it's a show that succeeds because it, like, I think accurately reflects, this is a metaphor I've never used before, and so like the reason I'm like having such a hard time putting it into words is because like it's not like something I've like said and I'm like this is gonna kill, but like I'm kind of like parsing it as we're talking. But it's just like there are a lot of things that you can do to succeed in the rubric that has been created by somebody more privileged than you are, or somebody who has had more power than you. And like a lot of the show is about these girls being like, hey, fuck you, I'm still gonna succeed. Do you know what I mean? And that like in the moments where the game becomes unwinnable and you are reminded that there is truly nothing Maria could have done in that moment that would have her win, because society is set up in such a way that there is no winning that kind of situation. Yeah. You're like, oh, well, damn, that is still true. And it's a really good point. And it makes these girls extremely sympathetic, even in the moments that are more satirical. Yeah. And like that is such a strength of Smile that it seems like it did not start that way in its inception, like from what you were talking about with these like workshop versions that were just sort of like, isn't it funny that we make women do this? Hee hee hee. Yeah, and everyone who ever competes in them are stupid flesh bags. Like, yeah, dumb bimbos. Like, it is like amazing that this is the show that grew out of the inception of that idea. Like, I'm so impressed by the growth of it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, no, absolutely. I was listening to a podcast that discussed Smile, and I listened to it because a friend asked for my, thought that I would enjoy it because it was about Smile. And I was actually really angry listening to the episode because it was very nasty towards the show. And like, it's one thing to not like the show or like any show. It's art. Everything's subjective. But like, both of them were just blatantly misunderstanding everything that the show was trying to do and often succeeding at doing. And I was like, never wanted more than just to jump into a podcast episode and yell at both of them and be like, you're not smarter than Howard Ashman. He like that was ridiculous on purpose, or like this is a heartfelt on purpose, and the
criticism they always had was like, what show is this trying to be? Is it satire? Is it heartfelt? I'm like, it's both. It can be both. It's both. You need a beating heart in order to keep audiences connected. And the satire is because a lot of what these people are doing is ridiculous. Like, we can feel for Doria and still find her talent absolutely ridiculous. It is, and it's intentionally so.
And it's like the same thing I was saying of just like, even in what is Smile turned up to 10, which is like drop dead gorgeous, without the scene of the mom saying to Kirsten Dunst, you need to go out there and win because this could be the thing that changes your life, you don't care if she wins because you're just sort of like watching characters in a satire as opposed to like real people who you like want. So we can flash back and forth between Denise Richards wheeling around a Jesus and also Kirsten Dunst and be like, both of these things can be true. I can be laughing at how ridiculous and stupid that is, but I can also, because you have told me to, genuinely care whether or not this girl wins.
Yeah, that's without Kirsten Dunst's character, without Amber Atkins, Drop Dead Gorgeous does not work. And that is why we have Doria and Robin. Yeah, I mean, also, I think Ashman's really good at showing you sometimes, like, that these are girls. These are teenagers are still children. Their brains aren't fully formed yet. You know, they've matured in a lot of ways. There's this weird, there's this weird thing, especially with women, although we are seeing it more now with young men in Hollywood with, like, the Heartstopper boys and, you know, when Tom Holland was, is that the Spider-Man Tom Holland?
Yeah, that's him.
As he's gotten older, like the jailbaity mentality of, you know, when a person's body matures in a way that we have now associated with an adult's body, and especially if like someone's quote unquote an early bloomer, we start immediately sexualizing them more, even if it's not like, oh, the things I would do to them, but now going like, okay, your body has gone through the change, which means you are now a sexual option to the world. And
totally,
when you're 16, 17,
and so now I'm free to say the thing that I was gonna say anyway.
Exactly. But you're 16, 17, you are still relatively new to the world, and I think Ashman's really good about balancing that, of showing that these are girls who are starting to get hardened by life and definitely hardened by the pageant, but they are still very much children and their world is still very small. And while their bodies are being objectified, their minds are not fully there yet. And there's a fight between the two. And I really like that he does that. He has a stage direction at the end of Until Tomorrow Night where like the number ends in a pillow fight. And it's something along the lines of, like, the children that they... being, like, now they're, like, the children that they are.
Yes. I remember that even from just, like, reading the libretto, like, oh, my God, 13 years ago or whatever. Like, that, like, I remember being struck by that moment of just being, like, oh, yeah, like, when they blow off steam, they're just kids. They're just, like, children.
Yep.
It's all great. I just, like, I think it's a great show. And honestly, hashtag justice for Smile.
Hashtag justice for Smile. I had petitioned Encores to do it for many years. They never responded, and I felt offended by it. I didn't want them to do it after this season, but after Into the Woods was actually pretty good, maybe I would be into it again. But I would want to be in the room when it's done. I have thoughts that need to be said, and my fear is that someone's going to come in judgmental of the show and overhaul
try to fix it.
Yeah. And like, again, I wouldn't say that the show is perfect. I think it's 75% successful, which is I still think a really high number, and the other 25% isn't bad. It's just not as good as the other 75%. But I don't know. I do think it works.
There was I was just doing some research on Smile before we were recording, and I was like making a note in my notes about being like, I just find the older people material to be the least compelling stuff. Whatever. We've already talked about this. And then in like, you know, some subsection of a Wikipedia article, it said a production of Smile was presented by the Awkward Stage Productions in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Awkward Stage's production featured all the adult characters as being played by puppets a la Avenue Q. And I was like, what? Weird. What? But then I was like, I don't know. I mean, they are basically just puppets. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because the show has already said like, these guys aren't important. I'm like, is that brilliant? I mean, obviously you can't just judge something on a concept. Like, you need to like see its execution. But like, I'm kind of intrigued by the execution of it. Like, I would see that if I could.
I think
because like that is like a huge part of the show. It's like either there needs to be less adults or more adults, but like as it is right now, neither is particularly compelling.
I honestly think a lot of problems would be fixed if we cut Bob's song. And I get why it's there. Bob needs something showing his like inner turmoil, I suppose. But I think it slows things down and we don't really need it. And we don't have that when you cut that, there isn't that much of either Bob or Brenda as you would think when something that looming is there. And I think a lot of the smaller adult characters add a lot of spice of life. I think Tommy French is a lot of fun. I think what's the name of the host? Dale Wilson Shears is the name of the guy who owns the pageant. His name is Shears, Dale Wilson Shears.
Ted Farley is the MC. Tommy French is the pageant choreographer.
I love all the Ted Farley shit. I love his intro in the top of Act 2. Get the button, get the hook. I hear he knows the president. I think it's so good.
I love that.
True girls know him well, and Nancy True girls. But then the way he hosts, the way he repurposes Tommy French's fictional wooden foot story. I think it's
oh my god, that part is so good too. Yeah, I guess I'm being unfair by saying the adults, and really what I mean is Brenda.
And Bob. And I would really narrow it down to just Bob, because while Brenda is not as exciting as everyone else, Brenda at the very least has a character color and
totally.
And something to play, especially like I think her opening song is pretty solid, The Very Best Week of Your Lives.
Yeah, it's very my favorite moment of the Bee, if that is a more contemporary reference that people like jive with, which is just like the lady who still runs the competition because when she did it as a kid it was so great and it changed her life.
I mean, if
also like one of the benefits of Spelling Bee is that while she is a character and there are moments of sympathy for her, the show is not about her and it like doesn't get like bogged down in her. And I do feel like this show goes a lot back and forth between like, hey Brenda, isn't your life better because you won? And she's like, I'm sad, the American dream sucks, straight marriage. Do you know what I mean?
I think
it just is a little too bogged down. It's like not.
And the irony is that on Broadway it was even more bogged down. Like she and Bob had this big old fight in Act 2 when all the shit went down, and she's like, I can't be perfect for you anymore, Bob, because like in the show the whole trajectory was like he was always promoting how beautiful she was and he just wanted to be proud of her and let's just constantly be great, and she's like, it's too much. And then in the stage show it's
not.
The licensed version becomes, she's the one who wants the perfection, and she's become sort of an ice queen in general. Not like unfeeling, but just so very determined, which obviously is its own kind of trope. But I think it pays off in Act 2 when all the shit goes down and Brenda's the one who has to save the day. She goes out and she makes this giant speech about family values that, again, sort of means nothing, but it's passionate enough that it riles up the crowd and everyone's like, wow, Brenda,
totally.
You really did it. And Bob's like, are you, like, did I just marry a monster?
Nobody did anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I like that stuff.
Yeah.
And I also do like that after sort of being played for a putz the entire time, Bob is the one who's like, we can't let this happen. And everyone's like, shut up, we're going to let it happen, and you don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, am I insane?
Yeah.
Like, I also just like, I like that, how do I put this? Like, it's an interesting moment to see Bob, who's like ostensibly a nice guy. Like, we've never seen him like engage in anything weird or lascivious or anything. No. To be like, oh my God, I'm raising a pervert. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
like I like that, and I think that that's like also again slightly ahead of its time in terms of like subject matter, that like a perfectly normal, totally fine guy, like monsters aren't raised by monsters, you know what I mean? Like his son is hanging out with the wrong people and he's doing shitty things that he shouldn't be doing, and he's like not parenting well enough to like have caught it. But like it's not because like he's a guy who sits at home and like makes shitty comments on the couch about women's bodies, and so it's like I learned it from you, Dad. Like he's like shocked by the notion that he like has raised this little monster in his house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so the whole little Bob thing is a combination of, hands-off parenting and then not sort of disciplining your child, endorsing your child, not teaching them structure or values or anything like, or having any repercussions to their actions. It's when people say there was a moment in my family's time when a child in the family was being kind of a brat, and they were getting called out on it, and the parent of said child said, like, don't undermine their feelings. And everyone kind of did a big rolling of the eyes, and we all had a moment where, like, this child will either become a good person in spite of all this, or they will become a monster. Luckily, the child became a good person. But, like, it's that kind of it's that kind of mentality of, you know, I don't want to undermine my child. I don't want them to feel like they aren't enough. They're enough. You're amazing. You're wonderful. It's like, no, you want to encourage your child to be a good person. And sometimes that means disciplining them. Sometimes that means watching what they're doing. And Bob, you know, realizes, oh, we've been touting how our son's just an adorable all-American boy while not actually paying attention to any of his actions. And look what he's becoming.
Correct. And look what he's done. Exactly.
Yeah. I think, so if I were to make some changes to Smile, I think I would do 3 things text-wise. I would cut Bob's song in Act 1. I would add a little bit of the Broadway orientation into the licensing version again, just when the girls were reading the schedule. I just love when they're reading the itinerary, and there's the lyric, it says at 6 a.m. They wake us at 6 a.m.? I love that.
That's very good.
Yeah, and the music's good there, too. I would also add, when they're announcing the winner at the end of the show, because it's the 4 girls on stage. It's Robin, Doria, Sandra Kay, and Sean. Maria was going to be in the top 5, and then she got eliminated. Having the music build in Doria's head, having her sing to herself Disneyland, you know, I'm going there to Disneyland, and once I'm there at Disneyland, I'll Sandra Kay McAfee. I think that would be a really great build up to her winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's like a nice, like, pull the rug out from under you. And then I would have a moment where, like, we actually see Bob take little Bob off stage, or, like, say to Brenda, like, Brenda, we're having a conversation with Bob now. Like, you need to come. We have things we were going to talk about. So we don't have to see the conversation, but we know that the step's going to be taken, because I don't think we ever see that moment. We have,
and then he's, like, initiating that.
Yeah, Bob, he does say to Brenda, like, we're going to have to talk tonight, but I would like little Bob there as well, just for that moment. So those are the only things I would alter. Everything else I think still works really well.
Yeah. Hashtag Justice for Smile.
Hashtag Justice for Smile. I don't even know if we talked about everything I wanted to talk about. This episode, I blacked out the moment we began.
I know, same here. And also, like, it's when a show is good, you could sit down and talk about every song and every lyric and dissect it, and, like, we just simply do not have the time. But, like,
we do not have the time.
Remember how, like, when we were talking about the frogs, I was like, hey, if you really like Sondheim, or if you, like, are really interested, or if you really like Nathan Lane, like, you should listen to this, because, like, I think it will appeal to you. Yeah. I would not stop the average person on the street and be like, do you know the score of the frogs? You got to get home and listen to that.
Yeah.
I feel differently about this, where I'm just like, I do think this is a score that has been sort of forgotten to time, and, like, people might know Disneyland, but not the rest of it. And it's like, it is so good, and it is so witty and lovely, and, like, I do think that, like, if this is not a cast recording in your rotation, you should, like, find a way to listen to it.
Absolutely. The demo recording is legendary now in cult groups, and you need to get familiar with this score. It is a wonderful score. It's one of the best scores of the 80s for sure. I would argue it's actually Hamlish's best score. While his chorus line maybe is a little more complete and compact, I just think he's more ambitious musically with Smile, and I think it pays off so well. I also think Howard Ashman's lyrics are absolutely fantastic, and there's just so much here. If you are interested
in the art of lyric writing, this is, like, a prime contender, up there with, like, the best of the Sondheims, to like be like, I'm gonna look at every single lyric on this page and study the internal rhyme and the reference and the wittiness, and being clever without pulling attention, also writing in the perspective of the voice and the point of view of the people who are singing. Like, the references are appropriate to the age level and the intelligence level. Like, he's not just showing off how smart and witty he is. Like, it's pretty astounding work.
Yeah, it is fantastic. Highly recommend. Ashman did get the only Tony nomination for the show for his book, which
insane that's it, but okay.
Well, yeah. So what's even more insane is that Smile opened in November and then closed in January, and then the Tonys were that June. But Rags, which opened in August and closed after 4 performances, got a musical score, book, and actress nomination. And on top of this, Starlight Express came in with a bunch of nominations, and I'm like, okay, you may think Smile is flawed, and certainly the Broadway version is more flawed than the licensed version, but that score is 100 times better than Starlight Express. That show is better than Starlight Express.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's no way you can argue that the score is not better.
Yeah. Hashtag Justice for Smile. Allie.
Hashtag Justice for Smile.
I know we got to wrap things up because it's a busy Sunday for both of us. So
Wow.
if the listeners feel like there's more to discuss, and this is going to be a long episode anyway, but if the listeners feel like there's more to discuss, I think we should do a part 2 on the Patreon for Broadway Breakdown, if you're interested.
Sure.
Great. Fantastic. We'll do another part of this on the Patreon. I'll take questions that we from the listeners that we can answer primarily about the show.
Yeah, I want to hear. That's the thing is, like, I think I probably said all I have to say about my initial impressions about the show and its impact and how fun it is. But, like, I would be interested to hear other people's experiences with it. Has anybody seen it? Did you see a bad production? Did you see a great production? Did you see a production at your high school because they only had girls? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I am very interested by, like, how this show happens to come into people's lives.
Yeah, and I'm
because, like, if
interested...
it hadn't been for me doing it in high school, I don't know if I'd ever know Smile. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. I think that's. I mean, no. Knowing me, you would eventually know Smile, but you would not know it. You would not know it to the extent that you do if you hadn't done it.
Yeah, and then on the Patreon, if you donate lots of money,
so
Matt and I will sing every part of Until Tomorrow Night.
Okay, so part 2 will come at some point on the Patreon. Don't you worry, my little chickies. And if you have questions that you want us to answer for that episode, you can DM me at Matt Koplik, usual spelling, on Instagram. Allie, we have 3 questions we got to wrap up with about Smile.
Yes.
Over, under, or estimated? Do you think the show is overestimated, underestimated, or properly estimated?
Underestimated 100%.
I agree with you 1,000%. The missing link. Is there anything that you think is missing from the show that could really click a lot of things into gear?
Fixing the Bob and Brenda stuff.
Agreed. I don't think there's anything that needs to be added. I just think trimming.
Yep.
Yeah, we talked about it, cutting his song, and then I think just similar to how we talked about the West Side Story remake, where just trim 2 or 3 lines per scene. Tony Kushner and Rick Golden.
Yes.
I feel the same way with Bob
yes.
and Brenda. I'm like, yeah, just cut 2 lines for every scene that they have.
Like, we got it. Yeah.
Last question. This is a toughie. Castaway. Who would you like to see in a production of Smile?
Ooh, that is tough.
Yeah.
Mostly because, like, I would really like this to, in an ideal world, to be like a bunch of up and comers the way that it was when it was first cast, of just like really talented young people who were not names. Like, I don't really have any interest in seeing like the Mean Girls cast step into the roles and Smile. I would really like to see
100%.
some like fresh faced, uber talented people. And you know that I hate seeing kids perform, so it really does take a lot for me to admit that, like, I would love to see a talented 16-year-old's take on the character. Like, that means I really need it.
Yeah, I think, let me be clear. Like, I think Erica Henningsen straight out of You Mish, I would have loved to seen her Robin, but now I think
totally, me too.
But now she's too old and she's too well known that it's the bloom of the discovery of her is gone. But
yeah, and like, it is fun to discover people, and there are so many fucking talented people out there. And again, like, I also, when I'm saying young, I also mean like a 24-year-old is still young. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying it has to be like we plucked them from the high school hallways, but like, yeah, I'm just interested in seeing some new people in this.
With these girls, you need to cast under 25 because they need to have the ability to do it 8 times a week, while also and the stamina and the technique, while also having that youth about them as well. That's sort of the difficulty with the show in general, is like you run the battle of being true to the satire of these being high school girls in a pageant with low budget, and then being a Broadway musical. So it's like, how do you choreograph Young and American? Do you go full Broadway or do you go half Broadway? Like, what do you do? And you see that in the bootleg where, they definitely surrendered to just trying to be Broadway. So the choreography became too much. It's very Debbie Allen 80s. I would think the 2 women in my head right now that I would love to see is Brenda, just because I think they would A, deliver the vocals, and B, deliver that kind of humor, is either Carrie Butler or Sutton Foster. I think they would. I think they could nail the humor of Brenda being sort of an ice queen and very pageantry while not being stereotypical.
Who was the woman who won the Tony for Promises, Promises?
Katie Finneran.
That's who I want.
Interesting. I think she could do the dialogue. I'm not sure she could belt it the way I want. Like, I just think of Marsha Waterbury belting the "I'm sure that I'll win this time," and I want.
You don't think she could sing that? I think she could sing that.
She couldn't sing Annie, so I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe she surprises all of us.
Are you talking about like the song like Little Girls?
Yeah, where she sings Little Girls.
Little Girls is surprisingly high. I think he belted like a D at the end. It's like one of those songs that's like sort of like a sneak a sneak hard song to sing.
No, absolutely, because Dorothy Loudon was not just a brilliant comedienne, she also was a belter.
Yes, she was a belter, and she made it sound so easy that people always think of that role as not being a singer's role. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we'll get whatever the funniest actress is, but like, you gotta really sing in that role.
You absolutely got to sing, because Dorothy Loudon is what we call a talent alien, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I always thought was a real term, but I've had a few listeners tell me they never heard it before until this podcast, and maybe I coined it.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, see, I was gonna be like, well, I've heard it, but then again, you like were my brain worm in my formative years, so like honestly, like I'm not the correct audience. like,
Well,
but
yeah,
I've been saying it since I was 17. It's like, well,
yeah, because
the waters
because
have
of
been
our
clouded.
friendship, Allie, I'm like, people know Corin Boy. People talk about it all the time. And I go,
Oh
or has
my
just
God.
or has just Allie Gordon been talking about Corin Boy for 15
I
years
know. They're like, no, people didn't see that. One girl saw it 4 times.
and hasn't
She's
shut
the
up
only
about it?
person who bought it. It was really good, you guys.
Oh my God.
British people loved it.
Yeah, listen, and British people would love Smile because they would go, silly Americans.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care if they're laughing at me if they can get it back on Broadway.
Yeah. Here's my castaway for Smile. Let's do it at Encores. I need to be in the room. I would actually really like to see Casey Nicola do this. I think he could handle the choreography and direction combined, and he, I think, can do the sardonic tone that it needs, having seen his Anyone Can Whistle in the way that he did Drowsy. Otherwise, yeah, I'm not sure who else I'd want to see handle this show.
I'm
also
happy to see some new people. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that it is primarily about women, but I do think I want a gay man running the show for this one. There's just something about the diva worship that gay men have that I think would benefit this show very much so.
Totally. I mean, like, I feel like I've said this before, if certainly to you, if not like definitely on this podcast, but like there is a sort of like when girls are going through an awkward time, like there is something about the like affirming nature of like women are amazing, women like the diva worship that like makes you feel less ashamed about being a woman and not quite figuring out what your niche is in womanhood yet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's just difficult because like when my voice we've been talking for so long. I
truly
like went through I was like a very ugly teenager, which I'm sure you're not gonna say I was because you're my friend, but like I like had like a hard puberty, and like there was a lot of time where I was just like, who am I? What do I do? What am I contributing? People don't like me. I'm not fulfilling the womanhood that I've been told to fulfill. Do you know what I mean? And there's like something about like the friendship of gay men in your like weird formative years that like makes you be like, I can sing, or like I have a strong perspective, or I made a funny I made somebody laugh today who I think is really funny. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's why female talent aliens and gay male musical theater creatives have created so much amazing Broadway history, because that connection of being odd and different and not sure of your placement brings them together and then creates magic. I mean, you know, I talked about Howard Ashman and Ellen Green with Little Shop and the magic that is.
Yes,
And
like that's like a perfect example of somebody being like, I affirm you for exactly what you are because I find it fascinating, unbelievable, you know, like don't change a single thing. In fact, be weirder. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, and like that is like such a special, it is like really like a special relationship. Like I try not to talk about it in a way that's like, you know, too
Fetishizing.
overly generalized or fetishizing, exactly.
Yeah.
But just like being like that, there's a reason that exists in so many people's lives, and it's because like there's some sort of weird magic in that connection that like is universally somehow true.
Well, you don't fetishize it, Allie, because you treat your gay friends like people, which sounds like not a very hard thing to
Not
do.
you, I treat you like dirt.
Yeah, no, you treat me like dirt in a musical theater encyclopedia. I do have some female friends who do treat me basically as a musical theater encyclopedia, and I know that they care about me, but like I never get asked about my life. You always ask me about my life. And so I think it's not fetishizing to talk about that connection in the way that you just did, because it is part of, it's just a small part of the whole like relationship, and you're aware of that and you talk about it, and you know, you connect to all of it. But like also, yeah, that connection is there and the affirmation is there on both ends.
And that's what you're saying too, like, and the other thing of being like, I am aware that the show is a show about women, but like I do think that there's like a valid point in having like a gay man at the helm being like, I see you, I love you, I'm excited about this, I have really some really strong ideas, I'm going to make sure nobody looks bad, I'm going to be really affirming to all of you. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And as we wrap things up, I just want to say I'm confident in this belief because a little over a year ago, I was getting ready to put the pieces together to do a staged concert of Smile for like half a week, doing like 5 performances in the middle of summer. It was right before Broadway came back. Friend of the pod, Justin Mendoza, was going to MD it. I was going to direct it.
Oh,
and
my God.
So it's scheduling and just budgeting didn't work out, but I think we're going to still try to make it happen. But I reached out to a couple of different women I knew. I didn't reach out to you because I just wanted you to be in it, but I reached out to a couple of different women I knew who was like, you're a good director, blah, blah, blah. Like, should I direct this if it's about women? And they all were like, listen, I'm a woman who directs. There's not a single person alive right now who's better equipped to direct Smile than you right now. And
I really do think that's true.
And I was like, you know what? I think I think that is that. Yeah, I don't know. Being a gay man in musical theater, again, not to fetishize or overgeneralize, but because for years we have looked at the female roles as sort of like us living our fantasies. It's why, you know, gay men gravitated towards Patti LuPone and Evita. You know, we get to see someone be a bitch on wheels in the way that we always want it to be. It's why we all gravitated towards Streisand and Funny Girl, these over-the-top personalities,
Totally.
these larger-than-life talents getting to just do their craziness, and we live for it. It's not us taking over a narrative that isn't ours. It's us, you know, honoring it because we love it so much, you know?
Yeah, we got really off the topic, but I do think this is a very interesting conversation.
It is an interesting conversation. What a great way to end this episode.
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
it feels thematically correct to be talking about a show written by gay men about young women to like end with this conversation. But like, boy, oh boy, we went to a different train track entirely.
We did. Allie, where can people find you if you want them to find you?
If you want to find me, you're going to have to fucking work hard. No, I'm just kidding. I'm on Twitter at Miss Alice Nutting, MSALICENUTTING. Yes, like the character from The Mystery of Devon Drood. I'm also there on Instagram and all these other places. But, you know, I'm really trying not to be on Twitter too much now. I don't know. I just see some whack shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's all over the place, but I'm very glad I don't have a Twitter. I only do the Insta, and even then that can be annoying, but you make what you do.
You make what you do.
Don't we love stupid nonsensical phrases like that? You make what you do.
You make what you do. I was also going to say, like, if you live in and or around New York City, I do perform musical improv with my team Rumble Teaser. I don't have any dates on the book right now, so it was silly for me to bring this up, but we will most certainly do something this summer. So if you're around, come see us.
Yay! As I mentioned, you can follow me on Instagram at Matt Koplik, usual spelling. If you like the podcast, you can give us a nice rating, a review. You can subscribe. You can tell your friends about it. Every time I see that we get a new rating, my heart gets a little happier. No reviews since I last recorded. We got a review during the hiatus that was really lovely, and I read that out loud. Then we got 2 more ratings. But I would love to get to 100 at the very least by the end of this series. Maybe even 100, maybe even 110. I don't know. I would just really like it. It makes me happy. As you know, Miss Gordon.
Let's do 100. Come on, guys.
Let's do 100. Come on, guys. Let's make this happen. As you know, Miss Gordon, we close out with Broadway Diva every episode. I'm trying to think. We've done Benson. We've done Jodie Benson. We've done Ellen Green. I'm trying to think who else is sort of Smile related.
Smile related. That's tough.
Well, I did say I would love to see Carrie Butler in this, and I don't think we've done her yet.
Okay.
Yeah. She's the one who I famously shouted, she's 90 when I saw Beetlejuice.
She's 90?
Well, yeah, the story goes, and anyone who's listened to the Cats episode knows this, I saw Beetlejuice with my friends Amanda and Sophia. And we went in not expecting to like it, and we ended up really loving it. But top of Act 2, Carrie Butler sings a song called Barbara 2.0, which ends with her hitting a giant high note.
Yes. Oh, boy.
Yes. I have no memory of this. I blacked out, but Amanda claims that I stood up and shouted during the applause, she's 90! Because I was just so proud of Carrie for not being a young ingenue anymore and still having it.
Obsessed that you went all the way to the age of 90.
Yeah. Well, she's much older than people realize. I think she's in her mid to late 50s now. But
Well, she's not 90.
I know, but I was probably exaggerating. It was the
All right,
heat of the moment.
End this episode with the end of Barbara 2.0 with the like G she belts or whatever.
Yeah, with the insane high note she does. Thank you so much, Carrie. As I mentioned earlier, check us back next week when we cover Carrie. She is the sound of distant thunder.
I am jealous that you will spend an entire episode talking about Betty Buckley's vocal prowess without me, but I'll live.
Such is life. You make what you do.
Such is life. You make what you do.
I was also in a million different keys when I sang that line, whatever. So anyway, we'll check you back next week, everyone. Thank you so much, Allie. Hashtag Justice for Smile. You make what you do.
Justice for Smile.
Justice for Smile. You make what you do. And take us away, Carrie. Bye.
Bye.
You're gonna